major plasma just ejected off of the sun, directed right at Earth. And this comes as the San Andreas fault zone has been bracketed by pretty significant earthquakes. So we saw a 5.6 in Northern California, and then a 5.6 in the Cascadia fault zone, and now a 6.0 down in the Gulf of California. So it's bracketed now. Of course, we had the 7.2 and the 7.8 in Venezuela, which is south. So this energy is transferring into California. So like I, predicted, we're looking at a very significant earthquake. We may see one as early as tomorrow in the Southern California, LA area. And then perhaps that could be the big one, or it could lead to a big one in the San Francisco area. So we'll look at the fault zone and how it's been bracketed and how this usually, it narrows down and it just boom, then a big one comes in. All right. So like I predicted, we would see, I predicted this last year before coming into this year, my yearly predictions that we would see snow all the way up to the summer. And sure enough, we have. And then I predicted that we would have in the middle part of America drought and high temperatures, which we're going to start having probably tomorrow. And this is going to lead to obviously some problems for a lot of people. Of course, America has air conditioners, unlike Europe. And the Europeans are finding out they're here for the FIFA, World Challenge, World Cup, the soccer, and it's like, not like American football, but it is football to Europeans, and we like it. We're winning. We're doing good stuff. So we'll play their game and beat them at it. As I've done as a Navy SEAL, and then when I was in the CIA. We would have the Europeans would challenge us to shooting matches and they would get destroyed, right? So, I think that what we're going to see is a lightening up when we see these big earthquakes that are going to start to happen. It usually happens when there's a major event like this. I saw it 9/11. Before 9/11 happened, I was in New York, and New Yorkers were not friendly. Right, and they're known to not be friendly, and so me and a bunch of SEALs, we were doing a hand-to-hand course in Maryland. So we were going to fly out of New York back to San Diego, and so we had a little time in between. So we walked the streets of New York, like young Navy SEALs will. We like to move and do stuff and sightsee, and become part of different cultures. And New York is a different culture. Right, forget about it. And so we were up there, and they weren't friendly at all. And I'd been there a few times before that. Central Park, exploring Central Park, so not so friendly. And after 9/11, I went back, and everybody's friendly. Everybody's friendly. It's amazing how events like that will direct people into becoming more open, more friendly, more loving. And that's probably what we're going to see with California, because California is not friendly. All right, California is not friendly at all. They're corrupted, and I've been talking about that for a little bit now. And so we're going to find out. We're going to find out if Californians will actually become more loving after the earthquakes come. So let's look at some of the things that I've been following. So snow. Now, here in Lake Tahoe, a couple of days ago, we had freezing temperatures down in the 30s. Last night, we had close to freezing temperatures in my location. I had to turn the heat on, and that was after being down in Irvine, California, for an event, LifeWave event, and it was, you kind of get used to an area you're in pretty quick. That's the way I've been, for a long period of time. And so we got used to the warm temperatures, and I guess it was a little cool because Californians were wearing sweat tops and so forth. So I thought it was like, God, it's like, super, super nice. It's warm. compared to up here in Lake Tahoe. So we came back to Lake Tahoe. It's cold, and sure enough, we had snowing in Montana. Right. So let's look at that. It's pretty incredible, all the way up to the. Actually, it wasn't summer, because the summer solstice was January 21st, I believe, or June, not January, June 21st. So let's look at this.
In downtown Billings, where the sidewalks have a little bit of moisture on them from the past 24 hours. But other places around the state are feeling more like winter as snow has fallen and the higher elevations.
Happy end of June, everyone.
Yes, the calendars say summer, but parts of Montana look and feel like something straight out of January.
It is pretty strange, yeah.
With snow coming in bunches, it was enough to make some wonder.
Are there places in the lower 48 where it actually snows on June 29th?
A simple and resounding yes.
This is definitely the latest that I have ever seen the snow happen.
Still, a surprising sight for wildlife photographer Julie Argyle, who has taken pictures like these in Yellowstone National Park since she was a child.
I didn't expect to have, a totally white landscape when I walked out the door.
But the scenery wasn't her only surprise.
Oh, I almost fall down the stairs.
Moments later, she spotted a grizzly lumbering through the fresh snow like a scene straight out of a nature documentary.
Yellowstone's beautiful no matter what season you're in, and you may have winter in July, right?
And it wasn't just Yellowstone.
Yeah, I transitioned really quick from rain to snow, boom, just like that.
Meteorologist Miller Robson captured these videos on Saturday afternoon while traveling the Beartooth Pass with his family.
It was windy, and it was quite hairy there for a few minutes anyway.
By Monday, the pass was closed, and yes, more snow was in the forecast.
Yeah, it's not uncommon at this time of the year where we can still see a decent amount of snow up there in the mountains.
Meanwhile, at ski resorts like Bridger Bowl and Big Sky, it looked like a mid-season powder day. Discovery, near Anaconda, received almost 8 inches of the white stuff, and Dark Horse Lake, along the Montana-Idaho state line, doubled that at 16 inches. Snow so tempting to play in that neither MTN meteorologist Curtis Grevenance nor his dog could resist.
It's Montana weather. It really is.
Yes, a summer day that had it all, from sun to snow, as we say farewell to June and hello to winter.
I mean, it could be winter.
So, yeah, that's the way it's going to be going forward. Of course, we're still going to have some significant warm days. This is what happens when you have extremes. So you leave one extreme and go into another. So we're going to leave the extreme temperatures. They projected that we would have, it would never snow again. And of course, that was Al Gore, of course. And as you just saw, it's still snowing. There wasn't supposed to be any snow like a decade ago, and everything's supposed to be melted. So now a lot of people, so Ryan Hall says El Nino heading out here. So yes, so we're having a lot of these crazy temperatures. El Nino has been affecting the Europe. And now it's going to start to affect the middle of America. Now, did I know that El Nino was going to form when I had those predictions? No. I just tap into energies and, vortexes and all kind of stuff. And so I just am able to, I just tapped into it over, decades, having been a SEAL and then CIA and, using my remote viewing skills to, go into different, energies and so forth. So this is one of the things that we're going to see going forward. So I think that we're going to see significantly colder weather probably after this year. All right, so let's look at some of the other things that I'm looking at. So we saw the brutal power of summer heat dome over Europe. There was supposedly 1,000 people died just in France alone due to the heat. Of course, they have gone hook, line, and sinker for the Green New Deal. They have, the carbon footprint thing that's been controlled by the elite of Europe, the European Union, and so forth. Now, in the European Union, wherever they have their offices and so forth, they're usually on top floors. So the plebes in the other slaves that are down on the lower floors don't have AC, but the elite on the top floors do have AC. So same stuff, do as I say, not as I do. As we've had these, Hollywood elites and so forth jet around in their private jets, burning carbon on a massive scale, and then thumbing their nose at us and pointing their fingers at us and telling us we need to cut back. Well, here in the United States, we say F you, right? We love our AC, and we're going to use it. So, and we love big refrigerators. So they have little tiny refrigerators in Europe. Of course, same thing, small carbon footprint. They have these ridiculously little small washers and dryers. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like one shirt at a time. It's like crazy. It's so Europeans, like I said, hook, line, and sinker for this Green New Deal. And I've gotten a lot of flack from Europeans, when I talk about, our big freezers and ACs and so forth. And now, like I said, they're here at the, FIFA, the World Games, the soccer. I used to play soccer in high school, so I did football, soccer, and I was the fastest guy in my school. So, and I had a big school. It was a big school. So it was interesting. I love soccer. It wasn't gay to me. It was a fun sport. But some people think it's gay because it's not hardcore like football, our American football, right? So anyway, like I said, whatever the sport they come up with, whatever they want to play, we'll master it and beat them at the game. So that's the way Americans roll. All right, so let's look at some of the things. Over 180 million people across the Midwest and Midwest, like I predicted, and East will be under major to extreme heat risk between 110 degrees locally and skyrocketing up to 115 in some areas. The searing heat will impact major cities like New York, Washington, D.C., and other big cities. So it will be very interesting to see how America deals with the heat compared with Europe, right? So not really good the way the Europeans handle the heat. All right, so let's look at some of the things that. Yeah, and that's and the heat deaths here in America are like non-existent, and gunshot. From those people because Europeans can't have guns. I guess they can have shotguns if they get a license to go duck hunting or something, but they don't have guns. They can't have guns. They can't be trusted with guns. A lot of people with those guns, and of course, the Europeans, they're getting slaughtered with knives and guns and whatever the illegal immigrants want to bring. And here in America, they don't mess with us, right? So we got guns. Of course, some of those guns are used to commit suicide and, theft and robberies and, mass shootings and so forth. But still, because they don't have ACs, what a bunch of dorks. And they're so uppity about this. So some people learn the hard way, as you guys know. So let's just make fun of them. How about that? All right, awesome. So yes, sometimes it's just better just to make humor out of this. Europeans, I don't know. They'll probably go all in on ACs, and then it's going to start to turn cold for years. So that's usually the way this works, right? All right. So, but don't hesitate, Europeans. Go get those ACs, right? And now let's look at the earthquake activity, because I have other shows to do, and so I got to jump on and do this one. I did an earlier show on Iboga, and it is a fantastic show. It was heavily censored. Yes, they came in and tried to shut that down, but it's still a good show. All right, a little bit of glitching that went on, very frustrating, but it is potentially something that could help millions and millions of people here in the United States and the world. Of course, the medical institutions are going to resist that. And that's probably why we had so much resistance for that video. But it is out there. It's on my YouTube and Rumble channel and saved throughout the social media. The links are in the social media throughout, 500,000 subscribers that I have. Thank you, everybody. So hopefully we can double that this year, over the next year. That'd be great, because reaching more people with this information is difficult because there's heavy suppression. So appreciate you guys sharing this, and those of you that continue to come back and resubscribe after they kick you off. So this is one of the things we've had to deal with in the past. It seems like we have a little bit of leeway vice what we had 6 years ago. So here is the earthquakes over the last 7 days here in the United States and down in Venezuela, as you guys can see. So this is the latest one, and there's multiple aftershocks are happening. So a nice 6.0, right? And back up here we had the what was that? The 5.6 in Redwood Valley, and then a couple of days after that, the 5.5 out on that that fault line that's probably going to Cascadia, that's going to crack and cause a massive tsunami. All right, and then all the way down here, the 6.0, of course, a little bit further over. Let me take this out just a little bit more. And then we see, of course, the Venezuela, big earthquakes that happen over there. And then some of those transferred, some of the energy transferred out into the Dominican Republic, which had a 5.0, and Guadalupe, which had a 4.7. So the energy is transferring around. Over here, Nicaragua, 5.2, 5.1 off the coast of Central America, and Mexico, 4.9. So the energy's kicking. And if we zoom in a little bit, normally what happens is when you bracket like this, so you had this one on land and this one out in the water, right? They were both about the same, 5.6, 5.5. And then this one down here, which was 6.0. So we had a bracketing right here, and we probably will have another one that will happen if we take the distance of these two. Somewhere up in the LA area is my best guess because of the terrain and so forth, and the way the San Andreas runs. So as you see through here, so all of these are on the fault zones. So I would say probably LA, maybe upwards of a 7, high 6, maybe low 7. And then San Francisco, maybe 8.2. So these are just my, remote viewing, right? Which is, can change. Nothing is firm on these timelines, right? Consciousness can have an effect on this. They could not happen at all, or they could be a lot lower, or they could be even higher, right? So California's due. We know that 1,000 years worth of buildup coming. It's about ready to erupt. So I've been talking about this for a couple of years now. So we're getting down to the wire. And so Stefan Burns is talking about the energy that just came off the sun. Now, when you have earthquakes like we've been having, and we have a full moon, and we have planetary alignments that are going to pull a lot of energy as well. We have big old Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus, and not my Uranus, your Uranus. I always live through it, but somebody stop me. That's what my wife just said. Somebody stop him. There's no one to stop me. I will continue. All right. So it is fun, right? We always like to have fun. It's, concerning times, of course. you have to trust your intuition. You have to be ready for these events to strike. There's millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of people that live in California, very possibly about to be affected. So my heart and prayers go out to everyone. And I know a lot of you guys have been saying, because I've been putting this out every day for the last several days. So a lot of you are saying that you're praying. That's good. Prayers do have power and will have an effect, like I've talked about in my books and in my courses and in my shows that I've done for the last 10 years, right? So, and now we're coming up to that point where it really starts to impact consciousness and where that consciousness is really centered. How many people are negative and how many people are positive? Now, the positive, fortunately, can sway over a lot of negative, right? But it takes a lot of positive, right? And if we don't have a lot of positive, then we're going to get some cranking, right? So we'll see what happens over the next several days and weeks and months and years, because this is going to continue into next year, right? Next year it gets much bigger, guys. So this is just the foretaste, foreshocking. Foreshocks will come, even if we have the foreshock of a 7.2, 8.2, like I'm predicting we might have. Next year, it will be magnitudes larger. All right, so let's look at what Stefan Burns, really cutting edge, I believe. I've had him on a show. He's magnificent. He's cutting edge, and here he is sharing with us.
We have a pretty big live stream to talk about just a lot of things. We just had a 1.1x flare explode on the sun. We've been waiting for big solar activity. Here it is. We had an R3 radio blackout as a result of this directly over North America. Also, let's look at this. About 8 hours before this 1.1x flare, we actually had a 5.8 M-class flare from 3 different sunspot groups. They all in some way contributed to that total solar flare because we had a sun grazer comet vaporize, fly into the sun and vaporize in front of those sunspots. In California, it's been a long time. We don't know what would happen now. Now, the building standards are a little better in California, but still, we don't know what would happen if you get a real serious magnitude 7.8, 7.9, 8, 8.1, 8.2. It's all possible. So that's what we have to talk about today. I'm your Stefan Burns, geologist, geophysicist, space weather guy, your cosmic bro. Just trying to understand what's happening. Basically, I have sunspots, which are magnetic vortices. So now you get this surge of charged particles to flow down, and that's going to destabilize sunspots.
So here's this comet that's coming in, and when this comet comes in, it ignites the sunspots. Wow. I wonder if someone has sent that piece in there. I don't know, because it came from nowhere. No one knew anything about it. So that comet came in, it was vaporized by the sun, and then we had this plasma energy that exploded off the sun and is coming at the Earth. All right.
We have a lot of good data on that. That's exactly what we saw with the sun grazer comet. So yesterday I posted on X, Twitter, about the sun grazer before we saw this 5.8 M-class flare. I said, guys, we could very well get that activity to come in as a result. And well, we did. And now we're seeing earthquake activity around.
So as you guys are seeing, this is not prediction. This is looking at the energies that are happening. I look at the consciousness energy. I'm very well informed on that. And I know and I see that consciousness does have an effect on the Earth, does have an effect on conflicts, conflict resolution, loving people, like I talked about after 9/11, before 9/11. So was the consciousness of New Yorkers pulling in that negative thing that happened? Yes. right? And they didn't have a lot of problems for a very long time because they had that trauma and they overcame that trauma and went very loving. Now, look at New York. They have slipped into something even more extreme with Mamdani and the communists. So more extreme negativity is in New York now, guys. So what do you think is going to happen? All right. So there are, there is there's a church, not a church, but a cathedral that has somebody saw into the future and saw into the vibrations and the consciousness of the future, like I've been doing. But they saw far into the future. And on this cathedral in New York, they put where there was a massive tsunami that came in and was destroying New York. I think that's coming for New York. All right. So same thing, consciousness, negative earth events. This is not like you're being punished. It's like you are attracting it. California, if we do have, some serious earthquake activity, you are attracting it. You may have a little help from the deep state. Now, people are asking me, why don't we, stop these people that are doing this activity, from Antarctica? Well, I can tell you that we have had really clear skies here in California. We weren't having them here in Lake Tahoe. It's like daily, just massive, chemtrailing. We haven't had any chemtrails. So look in the sky today. There's no chemtrailing. Hasn't been chemtrailing here for a while. When we were down in Irvine, California, no, chemtrailing. And people were reporting that in California for quite some time. So I've heard and I've seen from people posting. I can't say that it's real, but I have heard that we talk about these earthquakes that are happening here. There's like 3 a days I've heard that are happening down in Antarctica. So the war is on. Now, is it happening? I don't see, because you never see earthquakes in Antarctica. You will see them happening off the coast in the water at 10K down, where we know that they have bases and they have maglev systems and so forth. So we have seen in the waters around Antarctica at 10K some pretty significant earthquakes. Now, were some of those maglev tubes that were destroyed? Possibly. And are there is there earthquake activity that's going on from the white hats trying to knock the hell out of the black hats and their batty ETs? Yeah, I think so. So there is a war going on, guys. You're not going to hear about it. You're not going to know about it. Wino Savin was down just off the coast of Antarctica on a cruise ship, and they were having conferences and so forth last year. All right, so there are things that are afoot. There is, this war that's going on. Who's going to win? Well, we already know who's going to win. But in the meantime, are other places going to be affected because of this? They're going to shoot energy. I think that's what happened with Venezuela. These events are going to happen, I believe, in California, because there's massive child trafficking rings in California. And it's part of the badness, guys. And you guys that allow these people to come in and continue that process, you see what's been happening. They've been burning your cities, and now they're going to destroy your cities with earthquakes. So this is coming. I don't see any way around it, but maybe you guys wake up and become loving. And do you really think you're going to do that? I don't think so. We haven't seen it. So we're going to see this trauma. Trauma happens, and then people start to look around and say, what can we do to help each other? And that's the way these things work out.
South of California, as a continuation of this seismic wave, Let me show you what's happening there. But before we get to the earthquakes, which we're going to talk more about, let us look at these the X-ray flux. And yeah, we have a comment here from our secret mod, Drew for World Ruler, and yeah. And then if we go forward here, boom, 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 boom.
So here's the plasma coming in, and look where it's coming in. It's coming in between Hawaii and California. So that's where we don't want that energy, but that's where it has come in a big way.
Boom, 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 shakalaka. Right there's our 1.1 X-class flare centered over North America, really centered over the Pacific in between Hawaii and California. But you see all of North America there getting hit by that. And then it lasting for a while at R3 levels before finally dying down right there.
All right. So I know a lot of you are, well, it's died down. Nothing happened. No, it comes in. The energies come in to already extreme energetics that are there. And they power them up, and then it goes to the fault lines, and the fault lines basically give. Right. So we're in this process.
So we're cooking, folks. Right now, we're really starting to cook. And let us now that we've seen this, magnitude 6.0 Baja California. So again, nothing is guaranteed. We hope for the best. Say prayers, do whatever you need to do. But it's definitely, this is the most critical. Let's say this. It's the most critical it's been in a long time for California. We had actually some pretty critical periods back in January, February for California. That kind of cooled off, thankfully. But then we started seeing new activity in Walker Lane with Nevada, not shown on this map here, but Silver Springs, a whole swarm up there. Down here near Las Vegas, Topana. So Nevada's all woken up, loosened up. That needs to be able to accommodate motion as well. This is a very important area for movement as it relates to California-sized mist.
Yeah, as the California islands are made over the next weeks, months, and years, then Nevada has to be able to shift around, and we've already started to see the shifting of Nevada getting ready for California, basically bunches up to fall into the sea.
And so everything's basically looking ready to go. It's all looking ready to go. Now, if we look at this earthquake for Mexico, we'll see that there's a strike slip quake here. So this is our moment tensor. And you can look, there's two solutions that are generated for a moment tensor. So this first one right here has a strike of 223 degrees, a dip angle of 63. So that's the fault angle, all right? So like if it's 90, then the fault is.
All right. So, more information, more insights from different sources. We're seeing little mega slow slip that is happening in Northern California and Oregon border. Let's look at that also under Seattle. Seattle probably going to go bye-bye as well. Again, a negative city, very negative city, communist city. Oregon, same thing. All right. So I'm just a consciousness guy. I'm just reporting. So will it change? Will it shift? Will the people shift? Will they change? Like they say in New York, forget about it. Right. So not so much of a chance, unfortunately. But who knows? Maybe they'll see some of the devastation and they'll go, well, we're like them. Maybe we should change. Maybe. We'll see.
The elevated slow slip events once again tonight. Look at that. 578 epicenters of slow slip events. Let me refresh this. For whatever reason, they're having an issue with their website. There we go. Mainly underneath the southern end here of the Cascadia subduction zone. Once again, been seeing a lot of comments here stating, oh, this is normal. This is normal. Nothing's going to happen. Well, you know what? Yeah, man.
All right. So I was hoping he would go into this. He's going to show you how the greatest minds have basically said that the slow slip leads to bigger events. All right. So it's all adding up, guys. The science is stacking up. The consciousness, the bad consciousness is stacking up.
Don't even know what to say about that. All I know is that each tremor count out here is getting much and much closer to the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake out here, okay? We've seen it. Let's go over here to the slow slip event here. Let's see, right here. I wanted to show you guys, okay? Just these are from, if you look forward to these big-time professionals that have massive degrees in college, Harvard University, Oregon State, you name it, okay? If you don't take my word for it, take their word for it, okay? This is from the Oregon State University here. Slow slip directly triggered seismic slip. We can see that, okay? This is from, not for sure which university, but every Stanford. I'm sorry. I didn't even see that here to the left. This is from Stanford, for crying out loud. Every slow slip event adds stress to the adjacent locked mega thrust zone, bringing it, you guessed it, not further away from a big earthquake, but closer to a failure. That's where we get the big earthquakes happening, folks. Man, it's almost like trying to teach a horse to drink water. I don't know what the phrase is here. You can't convince everyone. You just can't convince everyone.
Can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? So you can lead people to becoming loving and not being jackasses and causing lots of problems and speeding along the highways and trying to run people over and flipping them off and being assholes on the road. But until you get a big earthquake and maybe the earthquake, swallows up their car with them in it, right? So then they find out when they're in, hell or wherever they're going to go. So it is going to come for a lot of people.
Many people think faults with slow slip events are in transitional frictional state. He said they are very close to failing, which would cause a typical earthquake, in this case, a megaquake. But something is holding it back. Something is holding the failure back. What is that? It's pressure. So there's a number of, big time universities out here putting their necks out when it comes to the tremor counts. Tremor counts are occurring way deep underneath the southern end of the Cascadia, very, very closely. Just because of everything happening around the planet, the amount of stress and time that's built up out here, the accumulated slip rate, and really not even a partial rupture out here. So this tells me here that we're definitely looking at a big earthquake out here pretty soon. I feel like, think of this, I'm not going to go out on too much of a personal note, but
all right, he's not going to go out on a limb. He's going to say stay scientific. Leave it to guys like me that look at energy and remote view stuff. Look at the timelines, and I'm seeing stuff. Other people seeing stuff that are psychics. So it becomes like, again, nothing's a guarantee, guys. Hopefully, God willing, our consciousness willing, focus in the right direction. Enough of us, making an impact. We can, delay this some more, I guess, because I think at some point it's going to come. It doesn't matter. It has to come because it has to do a cleanse not only for the earth energies that are have been building for a long time with a lot of our negativity, but also the people that are, have come here but don't see themselves, going further, right? So it gives them opportunity to check out. So we're going to see that. We're going to see that on a massive level. We're going to see that in the millions and millions and millions going forward. So that is what happens with consciousness, guys. As we move into higher states of consciousness, those people that are lower consciousness, and there are a lot of them, get an opportunity to go bye-bye, right? So Supreme Court, speaking of bye-bye, Supreme Court sides 5-4 against Republicans to uphold mail-in ballot grace periods. Amy Coney Barrett and who's the other? Who's the other one? Coney Barrett and Roberts. So Justice John Roberts, Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Two baddies, right? Two baddies. They're supposed to be goodies for us, but they have decided to help destroy America. And so, in my opinion, the justice system's completely all the way up to the Supreme Court. And, they gave Trump a lot of wins, but these were two of the most important. And that is they are giving a 5-day grace period as long as the ballots are mailed on the day of election. So somebody in Pakistan that mails their ballot because they've come here. The other one is the birthright. So they've continued the birthright. Now, the birthright was supposed to be for slaves that were born here in America, and they had a birthright because they're born here. Right. So that was a great thing. I think they should do away with it completely because we don't have slaves anymore. So it's bullshit allowing these people to come in and use that against us, because when they come in here and they have, I've seen them in Pakistan. These rich people are like, we're going to America and we're going to, stay for a month, and Sheila is going to have a baby, and then that's going to be our anchor baby, and we're going to go home, and eventually we'll go back when they're older, and we'll be citizens. I'm like, wow, that's really effed up. I'm thinking that in my mind, but this is happening by the millions and millions every year, guys. So we're having our country stolen from us by the birthright, bullshit. And President Trump tried to get that stopped, but this corrupt Supreme Court, all the justice system, all the way to the top, completely compromised. Right, has to be completely done away with. And these traitors, Coney Barrett and Roberts, both of them need to go to jail. And I don't know, traitors, maybe even executed. I don't know. So we're done, guys. Our justice system is completely FUBAR, effed up beyond repair. So it's got to go. Same thing with our political system. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe there's going to be a huge earthquake that takes everybody out. That or bad. I don't know. So maybe Washington D.C. a big, it's just like cracks open and everything falls down in the hole and it just shuts back. So that would be perfect. Now we're in a position where people can go overseas now. They can be born here and then go back to Pakistan or Cameroon or wherever they're from and vote because they're American citizens now, and send their ballot to the U.S. and decide elections. And in California, they talk about how Pakistanis are doing that by the thousands are, doing mail-in ballots. They've already exposed that in California alone. So how many other states are doing this? Quite a few, guys, right? So according to the Voting Rights Lab, 30 states have mail-in ballots grace periods for at least some voters, immigrants and illegal immigrants, and you name it, have them for all mail-in ballots, while 16 more states have them specifically for military and overseas voters. Right. And that's the way it was always supposed to be. If I was here, when I was in the military, I voted. If I was leaving, I was like, it's too much of a pain in the butt. And so I wouldn't vote. But, and it seems like, you have, few maybe not even a few. You have a few 100,000 maybe military that will vote. And back in my day, almost everybody in the military was conservative, but not so much anymore. Right now, they're having classes with Muslim, freedom for Muslims in the military. It's like who started that, right? We never had that for Christians. So now they're doing it for Muslims. So everybody's getting, be kind to Muslims now. And, Muslims don't like dogs, right? They're very fearful of dogs. They're taught as little kids, if you misbehave, we're going to get the stray dogs outside, and they're all terrified of dogs. So in New York, they're talking about doing away with dogs in New York, and in Europe, of course, to appease the Muslims. How about the women that are getting raped by these Muslims? Do they have any say? No. That's being, against the Muslims, and we can't have that. All right. So things are really, really a mess here and in Europe. So we have a long way to go. And who knows, maybe the earth change events will help, get people to the point where they're like, we should just learn to get along. Right. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. I don't give it much hope, but Supreme Court upholds birthright citizenship. Same thing, same problem, people. Justice Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Neil Gorsuch dissented. And then all the other liberals, 6-3, went with the birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment just needs to go away. Like I said, it's no longer needed, but they're using it. They're manipulating it. So these justices that are using our Constitution against us, that's treason to me, right? It's clear-cut treason. So they all need to go bye-bye, right? All right. Now, how many, take a wild guess, how many service members since 9/11 have died, in wars? U.S. service members that have died. Take a wild guess. In your mind, go, la, 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 la. All right. So up until late 2024, there have been 7,077 U.S. military personnel that have died in connection with operations, right? Since 9/11. That's a lot. That's a lot, right? And that's a tragedy. And I know a lot of people are like, think the military. It wasn't until 9/11 that people never thanked me. I'd be in uniform, and they don't care, right? So after Vietnam, if you're a military guy and you're in California, like I was, you're not getting laid, right? So, and that's the way it was. So eventually it evened out, and, once I became a Navy SEAL, that I had a hot body or something, I don't know. And so women were attracted to me at that point. They forget very quick. And I'm happy about that. So 9/11, never anyone up until 9/11 thanked me for my service. 9/11, I remember I was at the Naval Academy, and I had to wear my uniform. So I went to go pick up my kids from school, and people were coming up to me after 9/11 and saying, "Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service." Kind of like, those people in those buildings in New York that got traumatized, and all of New York got traumatized, and they're like, okay, let's look around and thank the people that are like trying to keep us safe, right? So 7,077, and I never expected people to be thankful. I did it because I'm of service, and I would have still done it regardless of people thanking me. It wasn't until the last few years of my career that people actually thank me, and then people still thank me today for my service, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that service members are recognized now. Now, taking that into mind, 7,077 have died from suicide, veteran suicide, since September 11th. Double that, because we know that there's a lot of veterans committing suicide. How many would you say commit suicide every day? I would tell you the number's been rising. It hasn't been going down. So today, the number of veterans that are committing suicide every single day is 24. 24. And that's 1.2 times more than the average, civilian death rate from suicide, right? Now, how many veterans do you think have committed suicide since 9/11? All right. According to Operation Deep Dive, in the end of 2024, there have been 360,000 and counting deaths, veteran suicide deaths. That's a lot more than 7,077. It's a lot more, right? So that show that I just did for Iboga, is, so that was a good guess. They're fabulous, right? Fabulous spoils, 1 million. So that was up there. So good. You're like thinking big numbers. That's good. So somebody said 444. Yeah, not so much every day. You just do the math. That's quite a bit more than that per year. So, or no, it's 444. Okay, that's what you said. Okay, I got you. All right, not 444. So see where my mind's at. I'm talking about something you guys are throwing like, it's 444. So it's good, because that's the angelic number. So that show that I did today, guys, really watch that. That is potential. Now, President Trump wants to bring in, and he's been on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's been talking about, and a lot of us been talking about ibogaine, but iboga has like 20 times more alkaline products than ibogaine is part of iboga, right? So listen to that show. Iboga is definitely the way to go, and it would have a much more positive effect. All right. Yeah, I know, fabulous. It's like, you can't even imagine, right? That many. All right. So, stay in the love vibration, especially you guys in California. And everybody say prayers for the Cali people. They definitely need it, and the New Yorkers, right? I don't think New York's going to get it yet, but they're going to get it, right? Probably next year. So this, like I said, is beginning. We'll see something big this year, but next year is going to be a lot bigger and more widespread. All right. Lots of love. We'll see you guys next time.
Restored Republic via GCR. Judy note: to save America, Trump was mega chess moves ahead and formed a global military alliance to work with the BRICS nations and make mass arrests of the bad guys, do a gold/asset-backed global currency reset of 209 nations, take back the Satan worshippers' money supply and give it back to the people. Apparently Barack Obama, a foreign Muslim asset grandson of Hitler, used the CIA, mainstream media, Chinese Communist Party, Democrat Party and their control of U.S. taxpayer monies to infiltrate our highest level of government as president with his fake birth certificate and fake transgender wife, and created a fake family, all for the purpose of destroying our nation from within. They have controlled the money. They have controlled the world, and they've been doing it for 250 years. Contacts inside the Treasury Department say that what's happening right now with the global currency reset was the biggest financial restructuring since 1913. The Rothschild family didn't just build a bank. They built a financial empire that controlled every major economy on Earth. From the Federal Reserve to the Bank of England to the European Central Bank, the same bloodline pulled the strings. In 1815, Nathan Rothschild made a fortune betting against Britain during the Napoleonic Wars. He knew the outcome first. $250 million in a single day. How? A network of spies across Europe. Information the public didn't have. That was 209 years ago. Today, the Rothschilds still have that same advantage. They know what's coming before it happens. They control the interest rates. They control the currency supply. They control inflation and deflation. They engineer recessions and booms. They decide which nations rise and which nations fall. The Federal Reserve. Not a government agency. It's a private bank controlled by the same families. The shareholders. Rothschild, Rockefeller, Morgan, Warburg. The same names. The same bloodline. Every war in 200 years. Rothschild banks. Both sides. They profit from everything because they control the money supply. Trump knew everything before he ran for office. That's why he's been talking about the Federal Reserve. That's why he's been pushing for audits. That's why the deep state was panicking. On July 5, 2026, Trump, as part of America's massive 250-year celebration, was preparing to make a financial announcement that would change the world, a complete restructuring of the global financial system. The NISARA/JASARA protocols were being activated. The gold-backed currency was on its way. The interest-based slavery system was ending. The Rothschild dynasty's 250-year reign was collapsing. That's why the media was silent. That's why the banks were quiet. That's why the elites were desperate. Because once Americans understood that their entire financial system has been designed to enslave them, that every dollar they earned was worthless because of artificial inflation created by private bankers, the system collapses. That very collapse was occurring this week with the downfall of the fiat currency SWIFT system. As of Sunday, June 28, 2026, all financial messages could no longer go through the Illuminati deep state fiat currency SWIFT system. They must be sent in the gold/asset-backed ISO 20022 format of the new global quantum financial system. This impacted over 11,000 banks in over 200 countries and $5 to $7 trillion transactions every day. On that same Sunday, June 28, 2026, we saw full implementation of the global currency reset of 209 nations to gold/asset-backed currency that traded at a 1-to-1 to each other. There has already been a takeover of the fake news mainstream media by the Starlink satellite system, the live switchover expected to be shown to the public by Thursday, July 1, 2026. On Monday, 19th of April, scores of U.S. Treasury employees serving the cabal were arrested. As many as 100 and likely more were caught red-handed in a scheme to fund the next COVID-19 stimulus, stop the global currency reset and keep on printing fiat dollars. Since Monday 19th of April market opening, all international markets, including the U.S. stock market and dollar index, were in the red and imploding, although at times the figures snuck up to green. As of Wednesday, April 21, 2021, the Illuminati/cabal-owned Fed, IRS and World Bank have been deprived of accessing their passcodes, couldn't transfer funds through their online system and thus were considered broke. The Federal Reserve, IRS and World Bank have been locked out of their accounts, with the passwords changed. They can no longer transfer monies. Despite a Trump executive order that made it unlawful for any more printing of the fiat U.S. dollar, the Biden administration continued the practice at the defunct Federal Reserve Bank. Just a few days ago, the U.S. interim military government took charge and arrested over 100 members of the cabal. The alliance, or White Hats, was composed of President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin, Chinese President Xi Jinping, Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi, India Prime Minister Narendra Modi. White Hats in the Department of Defense headed by Secretary of Defense Chris Miller, Undersecretary of Defense Intel Ezra Cohen-Watnick, and General Michael T. Flynn, Q-Force, composed of around 800 special ops who advise President Trump, including Pentagon Generals Chairman Joint Chief Mark Milley, Vice Chief John Hyden, General James McConville, Admiral Michael Gilday, General C.Q. Brown, General Paul Nakasone, and General J. Raymond, Quanons, volunteer patriots headed by Ezra Cohen-Watnick, General Flynn, and J.F. Kennedy Jr., who is Q, the National Security Agency headed by our present acting U.S. President Richard Grenell, who, with the U.S. under martial law, was running military operations in Washington, D.C. and various militaries across the globe, including the international force authorized to make arrests in any country, Interpol. A Saturday, June 27, 2026, Caitlin Hunter/Janine Larrick update. Judy note: Janine Larrick was in the Ohio Guernsey County Jail. The intention of Ohio authorities appeared to be to prevent Janine from testifying. Friday, June 26, 2026. John Brennan is a traitor who belongs in prison for his role in the Russia collusion coup, using foreign allies to spy on Trump and his campaign, and doing Obama's dirty work, directing his CIA to write up a new ECO with fabricated intel to frame Trump. Brennan even signed the visas for half of the terrorists that crashed the planes into the Twin Towers on September 11 when he was stationed chief in Saudi Arabia. Traitors must pay a price and suffer the consequences. Sunday, June 28, 2026. Evarji Ever, Nobel Prize in Physics. Global warming is a scam, climate change is of natural origin. CO2 is very good for plant growth. It's nothing more than another hoax by the elite, with the complicit execution of their governmental and media lackeys. The hoax exposed, the emergency lies with the perverse elite in reducing the population. Friday, June 26, 2026. Ever since President Trump shut down USAID, the DNC suddenly went broke, while Peru's, Chile's, Bolivia's, Ecuador's, Honduras's and Colombia's conservative leaders won their elections. Ben Fulford on Telegram. August, 2021. Mayorkas goes to the southern border and announces a bunch of USAID-funded programs to improve the lives of the people in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. We later found out that USAID funds were being used by NGOs to bring people to the border so they could enter our country illegally. All on the American taxpayers' dime, the White House on Telegram. As of Sunday, 28th of June, the quantum financial system has been activated. $340 billion already transferred to the new system. 47 officials already in military custody at undisclosed locations. 12 countries already signed the agreement. You weren't told. The media is silent because they're part of it. Sunday, June 29, 2026. After pleading guilty to unlawfully retaining national defense information, U.S. Attorney Kelly O'Hayes, Mr. Bolton faces a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison followed by a term of up to 3 years of supervised release. He will also pay a fine of $2.25 million and will forfeit his pension. See possible timing, worldwide events scheduled, 3 Jan. 2024. Level 9, above presidential, mission Operation Reset Alpha started. Classified, dismantled the old financial system in 72 hours. Monday, June 22, 2026. Protocol Quantum Finance activated connected to XRP Ledger, blockchain audit. ISO 20022 implementation, immediate. Sunday, June 28, 2026, Banking Reset Protocol initiated. All fiat transactions halted. New quantum system activated. On Wednesday, July 1, 2026, CBS activates. A blackout and lockdown will be global in all countries of the world. It will last 10 to 12 days when everyone will be asked to stay at home during a specific 5-hour window. Worldwide curfew in effect. Citizen movements restricted between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. Compliance mandatory. Monitored by SAT Grid. On Thursday, July 2, 2026, global media switchover. Old streams terminated. New QFS secured broadcasts begin airing truth sessions. Censorship structures dismantled. The pharmaceutical empire collapses as frequency medicine proves superior in every way. Friday 3, Sat. 4. Sunday, July 5, 2026, The Reveal. Pre-recorded presidential message broadcasts globally. Confirms restoration of constitutional republic. We took back the world. Announcement of the Global Restoration Plan. Every citizen will receive information about the new economic and legal structures. The pharmaceutical empire collapses as frequency medicine proves superior in every way. Sunday, July 5, 2026. Final stages of the transition to the new financial system completed. People will begin to access their revalued currencies and debt relief programs. Monday, July 6, 2026, a new era of freedom and prosperity officially begins. Twos. July 7, 2026, the absolute revaluation, RV, comes fully alive. Debt jubilee activations begin for those whose accounts were cleared. Law enforcement shifts completely to natural law protections. Wednesday, July 8, 2026, the unveiling of hidden technologies. Free energy and suppressed medical advancements are officially released to the public domain. No more scarcity. Thursday, July 9, 2026, global celebration protocols enabled. Local communities organize freedom assemblies to distribute the first wave of restoration funds. Twos. July 14, 2026, the transition begins. Your bank account won't disappear. Your money won't vanish. But the system that enslaved you will be dead. The Federal Reserve. Finished. The IRS. Finished. The old financial order. Finished. On Wednesday, June 25, 2026, new activations surged in protected sites worldwide. All operations are recorded for the EBS, exposing deep state crimes and the return of suppressed frequency medicine to the people. On Sunday, June 29, 2026, full global access begins round the clock everywhere. Holographic chambers repair pineal glands calcified by elite toxins, restore fertility stolen by depopulation agendas, and regress age for patriots who served longest. Survivors of the darkest experiments receive complete body, mind and spirit renewal protocols. 10 days of communication darkness. The countdown has officially begun. The old world is crumbling. After the darkness comes the light. What was hidden in the shadows is about to be revealed to the entire planet. Do not panic when the system goes offline. It is literally preparation for the greatest wealth transfer and liberation in human history. This is the final timeline you have been waiting for. The world's media is preparing for Disclosure Day, a huge event that will expose the principles of Jazara, the greatest wealth transfer in human history, and the basis for a new global economic system. The countdown will speed up and the world will stop for a moment. Power systems around the world will be reset at a coordinated effort to incorporate the new Starlink satellite internet, a giant leap into the future. Banks will close, ATMs and credit cards will stop working. Secure at least 3 weeks of food and water. The military will supply what you need if you don't have it. Non-stop education will be broadcast, teaching about the true principles of freedom and justice. Blackout, banks, ATMs close, internet down, grocery stores, gas pumps do not work, hospitals close, police kaput, MSM gone and much more. Nowhere to go but home. Pool on Telegram. Global currency reset. Judy note. No one knows the exact date for notification of appointments for Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, to exchange foreign currencies, but deadlines shown in the above timing indicate it to be very soon. We have been told that Wells Fargo, which is controlled by the Chinese elders, the ones who own the gold behind the global currency reset, will send out emails to currency and bondholders worldwide telling them how to set redemption and exchange appointments. It is advised to exchange/redeem your foreign currency at an official redemption center, RC, rather than a bank. You can only redeem ZIM at RC, the dinar contract rate can only be given at RC and banks will offer you lower exchange rates than what you can obtain at RC. You can only set up your new wallet, bank account, at RC. It was my understanding that most banks were under control of the cabal and would soon play a different role in the global financial system. Monday, June 29, 2026, the missing half of the U.S. national debt has been identified. Edward Snowden on Telegram. The Federal Reserve confirms, the U.S. Congress has built the single largest racket empire on the planet. U.S. NGOs have combined assets totaling $14.2 trillion of your tax money. India's and Japan's GDPs are each just over $4 trillion, Germany's is $5 trillion, and together they total about $13.5 trillion. Guess what? The combined assets of U.S. NGOs equal $14.2 trillion of your tax money, and that of your children, grandchildren, and great-great-great-great-grandchildren. In other words, the root of all corruption. The racket. U.S. Congress has racketed half the U.S. national debt to the planet's most profitable organizations. Sunday, June 28, 2026, Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, and JFK weren't killed by lone gunmen. They were eliminated by the Federal Reserve. The banking cartel. The shadow government controlling America's money. Mr. Poole, final chapter on Telegram. 4 presidents assassinated. 4 lone gunmen. 4 investigations, random act, disturbed individual, no conspiracy. But the pattern is undeniable. It terrifies the people in power. All 4 presidents shared one critical action in the months before their death. They challenged the private banking system's control over American currency. They threatened the money monopoly. And they paid with their lives. Lincoln issued greenbacks. Government-printed, debt-free currency that bypassed private banks. Threatened the banking cartel's profits. Shot in 1865 by John Wilkes Booth. Official story, lone gunman. Truth, execution order. Garfield declared intention to reform monetary policy and break the Federal Reserve's stranglehold. Shot in 1881. Official story, lone gunman. Truth, assassination. McKinley refused to surrender American currency to private bankers. Shot in 1901. Official story, lone gunman. Truth, elimination. Kennedy, Executive Order 11,110. Silver-backed Treasury notes without Federal Reserve. Creating debt-free currency. Taking power from banking cartel. Shot in 1963. Official story, lone gunman. Truth, coup d'etat. I have been told by contacts inside intelligence that Kennedy files contain evidence of banking cartel involvement. Declassifications coming. Andrew Jackson, survived 2 assassination attempts. Both pistols misfired. The bank is trying to kill me, only president to pay off national debt to zero. They put him on the $20 bill as mockery. Pattern extends beyond America. Every leader attempting sovereign debt-free currency was removed. Gaddafi, gold-backed African currency, freed 54 nations from dollar dependency. Overthrown 2011. Saddam, sold oil in euros. Invaded 2003. This is Operation Currency Control. Banking cartel maintains monopoly through elimination. Anyone threatening the money system is removed. Method changes, bullets, bombs, revolutions, trigger is always the same, threatening monetary sovereignty. It's not about politics. Not about ideology. Leaders of every political type are tolerated as long as they don't touch the money. Print debt-free currency, this is the one rule. The only rule. Trump understands this. Trump is challenging the Federal Reserve. Trump is threatening the banking cartel. The declassifications are coming. The truth will be exposed. The cartel's days are numbered. 4 presidents, same trigger, currency sovereign, banking cartel exposed. On Saturday, July 4, 2026 at 3:47 a.m. the Federal Reserve Building was to go dark. The same building where Janet Yellen signed Protocol Finance 7 on March 15, 2024, where they hid $847 trillion in offshore accounts, where they plan to collapse the dollar by September 2026. But something went wrong for them. On June 28, 2026, Kevin Warsh walked into the Eccles Building as the new chairman. He brought 3 folders. Folder 1, Operation Reset Alpha started, January 3, 2024 classified, Level 9, above presidential, mission, dismantle the old financial system in 72 hours. Folder 2, Protocol Quantum Finance activated, June 22, 2026 connected to, XRP Ledger, Blockchain Audit, ISO 20022 implementation, immediate. Folder 3, Executive Declassification Order 2026-89 signed, July 1, 2026 content, everything about the Federal Reserve's crimes distribution, global, unredacted, no escape. Here's what's happening right now. On July 2, 2026, the SWIFT system will be replaced. Not reformed. Not updated. Replaced. $340 billion already transferred to the new system. 47 officials already in military custody at undisclosed locations. 12 countries already signed the agreement. You weren't told. The media is silent because they're part of it. Level 9. Protocol Quantum Finance. Operation Reset Alpha. Mockingbird complete. Executive Order 14,411. Executive, Declassification Order 2026-89. Kevin Warsh. Bill Pulte. Tulsi Gabbard. Elon Musk. They're not fighting each other. They're fighting for you. July 4, 2026, Independence Day takes on new meaning. July 7, 2026, the announcement. July 14, 2026, the transition begins. Your bank account won't disappear. Your money won't vanish. But the system that enslaved you will be dead. The Federal Reserve. Finished. The IRS. Finished. The old financial order. Finished. Guru Information and Intel, case Saturday, June 27, 2026 breaking, Epstein files confirm Biden was executed by firing squad in 2019, body double installed, global elites secretly controlled the White House for years, and the deep state's darkest secret is now blowing wide open in 2026, 107 on Telegram. Patriots, hold on to your hats, the storm arrived full force on an explosive February 15, 2026. The freshly unleashed Epstein files under President Trump's Epstein Files Transparency Act, dropped November 19, 2025, are dropping nuclear bombs on the cabal. What we think we know as of twos. June 30, 2026 Sunday, June 28, 2026, First Lady Melania Trump is a Romanov. Romanova equals New Rome. The original fake Rothschild Vladimir Putin was taken out and replaced. The one you see now is a white hat, brother to Melania and head of the Russian military. He is holding her rightful position until this movie ends. Curtain call. Monday, June 29, 2026, Democrat operative caught on hidden camera admitting how they rigged the 2020 Georgia election, stuffed ballots, lied and kicked out poll watchers from the State Farm Arena, pulled out hidden suitcases of ballots, and ran the same stacks throughout the night until Biden cleared the margin of victory, EBS Live on Telegram. And Sunday, June 28, Republicans cracking down on billions in government fraud. DOJ charging hundreds in massive healthcare scams. SNAP improper payments alone topped $10 billion last year, over 10% of the entire program. Democrats can cry politics all they want. Americans are sick of their money being stolen. Time to drain the fraud swamp once and for all. Oh, Sunday, June 28, 2026, the New World Order and the Knights of Malta. The Sovereign Military Order of Malta, SMOM, officially the Sovereign Military Hospitaller Order of St. John of Jerusalem of Rhodes and of Malta, was founded in 1080, or even earlier, by a group of merchants from Amalfi in Italy. The Knights of Malta, like many other secret societies, is a satanic cult and organized crime syndicate with its threads weaving through business, banking, politics, the CIA, MI6, P2, Mossad, religion, education, law, military, think tanks, charities, foundations, the United States Information Agency, the United Nations, and numerous other organizations. The world head of the Knights of Malta is elected for a life term, with the approval of the Pope. Male descendants of the Rothschild family are considered high-level members of the Knights of Malta from birth. The Knights of Malta have their own constitution and are sworn to work toward the establishment of a new world order with the Pope at its head. Knights of Malta members are also powerful members of the CFR and the Trilateral Commission. The Knights of Malta all have diplomatic immunity, and can ship goods across borders without paying duty, or undergoing customs checks. The Knights of Malta is held up by a backbone consisting of nobility. Nearly half of the 10,000 members belong to Europe's oldest and most powerful families. This cements the unholy alliance between the Vatican and black nobility of Venice and Genoa. Membership in the Knights of Malta entails obedience to one's superior in the order, and ultimately to the Pope. Therefore, a U.S. ambassador who is also a member of the Knights of Malta faces a conflict of interest. Why is this fact ignored? President Bush appointed Knight of Malta, Thomas Melody, to the post of U.S. ambassador to the Vatican. Democrats sent the money out through USAID. The CEO was labeled a known con man by the investigation team prior to getting the contract from Kamala Harris. The Democrat Party is a money laundering criminal organization. It's actually worse than you think. The company and CEO was deeply involved in a decade-long bribery scheme with USAID contracting officer Roderick Watson and others. They secured over $550 million in contracts through bribes. Walter Barnes pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit bribery and securities fraud. The companies Aprio and Vistant admitted criminal liability via deferred prosecution agreements and paid relatively small settlements of only $500,000 and $100,000. Imagine paying only these small fines for stealing hundreds of millions of dollars. Democrats are so corrupt. They're all in on it. Q Sunday, June 28, 2026, The Biden Illusion. Trump drops classified proof. Deep state used actors, clones, and holograms to fake a presidency. Pentagon insider on Telegram. President Trump has just dropped what he describes as undeniable proof. Joe Biden was never truly in control. From day one, the American public was, according to this narrative, guided by a carefully constructed illusion built on doubles, digital projections, and advanced technologies. What is being presented now is framed as the end of that illusion and the beginning of accountability. This is not being described as a simple decline or weakness. The claim goes much further, that what the world saw as Joe Biden was not a single consistent figure, but part of a controlled system designed to maintain the appearance of leadership. According to this narrative, power remained elsewhere, while the image presented to the public was carefully managed. The argument suggests that what appeared to be a functioning administration was, in reality, a layered structure made up of stand-ins, digital manipulation, and controlled public appearances. Supporters of this theory point to various moments over the years that raised questions, unusual gestures, inconsistent behavior, and changes in appearance that, in their view, did not align with a normal public figure. Those who followed this narrative closely argue that the signs were always there. They reference differences in facial features, shifts in expression, and irregular movements that seemed out of place. While critics dismissed these observations as coincidence or overanalysis, others saw a consistent pattern forming over time. According to this perspective, the reasoning behind such an operation would be control. If a real and stable leadership image could not be maintained, then an artificial one could be created instead. A visible figure to maintain continuity, sign documents, and appear in public, while the real decision-making remained hidden. In this view, perception became more important than reality itself. For those who believed this from the beginning, this moment is seen as validation. For others, it remains an unproven and highly controversial claim. The divide between these positions reflects something deeper, a growing gap in trust between institutions and the public, where even the most visible aspects of leadership are being questioned. If claims like these were ever proven, the implications would be enormous. Questions would arise about legitimacy, decision-making, and the authenticity of political processes over the past years. However, it is important to state clearly that these claims remain unverified and are not confirmed by official sources. In the end, this is no longer just about one individual. It is about perception, control, and the nature of truth itself. Whether accepted or rejected, narratives like this show how far public trust has shifted. And when that trust breaks, every version of reality starts to feel possible. Saturday, June 27, 2026. Mike Benz brings the recipes and documents showing U.S. government uses our tax dollars to protect George Soros, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy on Telegram. George Soros worked side by side with the U.S. State Department, USAID and even our intelligence agencies, CIA, to funnel money to his NGOs. Additional CIA involvement with George Soros example, a 2017 Heritage Foundation report noted that during the Barack Obama administration, USAID collaborated with George Soros-funded groups to promote progressive policies abroad, such as gay/transgender rights and drug decriminalization. A 1993 Soros Foundation's report also mentioned a cooperative agreement with USAID for a management training program. A Lithuanian newspaper called Respublika was the second largest daily at the time. It ran a multi-day series attacking George Soros, his Open Society Fund in Lithuania, and local NGOs and think tanks receiving its funding. The articles portrayed Soros as a billionaire meddler with CIA ties seeking to undermine political stability via civil society groups. They also targeted Lithuanian President Valdas Adamkus and others linked to these NGOs. George Soros uses the money he gets from USAID to create political instability and take over governments. Friday, June 26, 2026 mass arrests. They told you the Epstein files were released. They lied. What was released is 40%. The other 60%, the part with American names, is being used right now for something they will never tell you on television. Ben Fulford on Telegram. Prince Andrew, arrested. Not questioned. Arrested. Cuffed in his own residence on June 14. Released on bail. Media buried it within 6 hours. Peter Mandelson, British ambassador to the U.S., arrested by Scotland Yard. Stripped of title. Under investigation for espionage. Torbjørn Jagland, former Prime Minister of Norway, criminally charged. 3 countries. 3 arrests. 2 weeks. And the American names haven't even started. I have the list. 217 names. Not the public one. The sealed one. The one Kash Patel handed to Trump on June 8 in a meeting that lasted 47 minutes at Mar-a-Lago. No phones allowed. No staff. Just the 2 of them in a folder marked Black Book Final. What's in that folder? Black small square emoji, 14 sitting U.S. senators, both parties, black small square emoji, 3 former cabinet members, Clinton and Obama era, black small square emoji, 6 CEOs of companies you use every day, black small square emoji, 2 Supreme Court clerks who are now federal judges, black small square emoji, 1 name so big that when it drops, the stock market will lose 2,000 points in 90 minutes. Leon Black testifies June 26. But not publicly. Behind closed doors. Because what he knows about the financial network, the $3.2 billion laundered through 14 offshore trusts, connects to people who are still in power. Alan Dershowitz, July 9. He's not testifying. He's negotiating. Full cooperation in exchange for immunity. He has video evidence from the island that names 4 people currently serving in government. The DOJ said they released every document required. CBS found the gaps. 412 pages missing. Not redacted, missing. Pulled from the files between May 30th and June 2nd by someone inside the DOJ who is now under FBI surveillance. Trump knows. He's known since January. The arrests are sequenced. Foreign first. Then corporate. Then political. Then the one at the top that nobody expects. July 4th. The final name drops on Independence Day. Not because of symbolism. Because by then, every escape route will be sealed. Every passport flagged. Every account frozen. This isn't justice delayed. This is justice engineered. Precise. Methodical. Inescapable. The children they destroyed are now the witnesses who'll destroy them. Black Book 217 Sealed Sequence Foreign Corp. July 4 Final name. No deals. No plea bargains. No quiet resignations. Tribunals. V. Friday, June 26, 2026. $44 million of Fauci's NIAID and USAID was sent to the Wuhan lab for gain-of-function research, aka bioweapon development. Caroline Levitt on Telegram. W. Friday, June 26, 2026. If you are too intimidated to read the Q drops, I read them all for you. American breaking news on Telegram. The main allegation is that the Obama admin intentionally gave U.S. uranium to North Korea, Iran, and Syria, via Uranium One and the Iran deal, with intention to start a global nuclear war, and everything the Dems have been doing since Trump came down the escalator, was to cover up this crime, along with all the other crimes they have committed. Seems relevant. You can grasp the main body of the Q thesis in these two drops below. The first drop describes the travel path of the uranium from Uranium One, U1. It went from the US, to Canada, to Europe and Asia, and then Q alleges from there it went to both Iran and North Korea. Q alleges that the Dems never thought they would have to worry about getting caught, because they assumed Hillary would win 2016. The reference to sum of all fears indicates that the Obama admin intended to use the nuclear weapon in order to set off a war and coerce the US mill and Russian mill to fight each other. The second drop alleges that some of the uranium from Uranium One, U1, ended up at an Iranian satellite nuclear facility in Syria, and their plan was to strike Israel. But Q also reminds us that this nuclear material is traceable, which is why the US securing the uranium in Iran right now is so important, and why I have been pushing this point so hard. So if you want to know the big secret, there it is. Q is a set of coded messages, released by the US mill/DOE, that reveals that the Obama admin gave nuclear weapons to our adversaries, and everything we have witnessed over the last 10 years, else revolves around this situation. If you don't think it's real, then why is Trump securing all the rogue nuclear programs around the world? X Friday, June 26, 2026, the world's media is preparing for Disclosure Day, a huge event that will expose the principles of Jazara, the greatest wealth transfer in human history, and the basis for a new global economic system. Tier 4B ISO 20022 on Telegram. The countdown will speed up and the world will stop for a moment. Power systems around the world will be reset at a coordinated effort to incorporate the new Starlink satellite internet, a giant leap into the future. Starlink, managed by the United States Space Force, will eliminate outdated infrastructures, providing us with free energy, and the long-awaited quantum ISO coins. Testing is already underway. This revolutionary technology is ready and the initial signs are small-scale shutdowns in Israel and many other countries. Be prepared to glide into an age of innovation and global prosperity. Why Friday, June 26, 2026 a journalist leaked 11.5 million documents proving the elites, politicians and celebrities were using offshore entities as tax havens, to launder money and to hide assets. Martial law on Telegram. The woman who leaked it was named Daphne Caruana Galizia. She was killed by a car bomb near her home. Remember 10 years ago when the Panama Papers came out and confirmed that elites use offshore bank accounts and shell companies to move their money around and pay as close to zero in taxes as they possibly can. And all that happened was the journalist that leaked it all got assassinated. Here's what happened: a massive leak of 11.5 million documents, 2.6 plus terabytes, from Mossack Fonseca, a Panamanian law firm specializing in offshore shell companies. It exposed wealthy elites, politicians, celebrities and criminals used offshore entities in tax havens, Panama, British Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands, and more to hide assets, move money secretly, avoid taxes, launder funds, and dodge sanctions. Timeline. Right now, The only difference is which one they allow you to access. That is about to change. This video is reposted from the blog, erdailyblog.com.
Thank you for your support and companionship over the years. We are still here today thanks to the contributions of each and every one of you. We sincerely appreciate it. Stay tuned for the latest news on our official website, rrdailyblog.com. If you enjoy our content and are able to, we would truly appreciate a small tip or even just a cup of coffee through GiveSendGo and PayPal links below. May God bless us all.
Patriots, I am at, and this is an update on Judy Byington official statement regarding the status of the Restored Republic report. Update regarding Judy Byington. Recent situation and silence. Dear Patriots and loyal readers, I'm writing the official update today, June 29, 2026, to directly address the overwhelming number of messages, comments, and emails I have received from our global community regarding Judy Byington's current situation. To be completely transparent with all of you, I've received no news or direct updates from Judy as of today, and personally I have not either. Usually she emails me with the report every day, and I have not even been able to contact her. I fully understand and share the deep growing concern with our community. The heavy silence is felt deeply by me, and I'm personally monitoring the situation with a profound sense of urgency. Judy is a pillar of truth-seeking journalism, and her safety, well-being, and voice are of utmost importance to me and to this movement. Like many of you, I'm starting to feel deeply worried. Me too. Judy is a vital part of our family, and the silence weighs heavily on my heart. I'm holding her close in my thoughts and prayers, hoping with all my heart that she is safe and well. Please stay strong and let's keep her in our prayers. I want to assure all of my readers that I'm actively trying to establish contact. The moment I receive absolutely any verified information, a follow-up report will be published here immediately. Thank you for your unwavering vigilance, your loyalty, and for standing together with me during this tense time. Stay tuned for further updates, Medea Greer. And that's it. So keep her in your prayers. I'm very worried about Judy. There's a lot of wildfires in Utah right now. And, you know, that is concerning. I wonder if that has something to do with why she can't use her email and computer. Maybe she had to leave, really quickly. So I don't know. I just wish I did know. And if somebody out there does have any information, please get it out there.
We've been seeing the EBS colors flashing, coming in and out various times, multiple networks, multiple times over the last couple of weeks. While the EBS, in my opinion, I think it's pretty clear, maybe I'm wrong, but certainly hasn't been activated. But what do you make of this? Is this preparation? What are they doing? Because these are not accidents, but it also hasn't been deployed. What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, this is a soft launch. This is to soften the shock of the new. It's just familiarity. Oh, that's our EBS. So when it does happen, there's a level of confidence there and familiarity with it. It's always the shock of the new.
And it's a post from Bio Clandestine. He's on Telegram. Clandestine, mind-blowing Epstein connection with North Korea and Uranium One. Monday, June 29th by Tara Setz. I just made, and this says alert, I just made a mind-blowing connection about Epstein. And it has nothing to do with the trafficking stuff. It's about North Korea and Uranium One. According to a 2013 email exchange between Epstein and French diplomat Olivier Colom, Epstein was very interested in North Korea. Stay with me, it will all add up in the end. Colom emailed Epstein and asked if he was interested in North Korea, to which Epstein replied, very. Then Colom says, I have something for you then, huge, ultra confidential. Come to Moscow with me in January. Keep in mind, this email exchange took place on December 6, 2013, less than 2 months after the Uranium One deal was completed, and Rosatom, Russia, took 100% ownership of uranium-1. Then, after Epstein says he likes the idea of North Korea as a potential location for whatever they were planning, Colum says, issue is very sensitive, have to meet you. A lot of connections here, but wait, there's more. Then in January 2017, exchange between Epstein and New York Times journalist Landon Thomas Jr. Epstein and Thomas Jr. discussed everyone's panic and fear of Trump being inaugurated, as well as North Korean diplomacy and North Korea's nuclear missile program. There's not much here in this email exchange that suggests Epstein was directly involved in North Korea's nuclear missile program, but I found it interesting that Epstein brought it up unprompted. But wait, it gets better. Number 3, then June 12th, the day of Trump's historic summit with Kim Jong-un, this is 2018, Epstein tells David Stern, Prince Andrew's right-hand man, confidant, that he wanted to go to North Korea to see number 1, meaning Kim Jong-un. Then 2 days later, he follows up to Stern and says, ask Bannon to get me to North Korea. I want to buy prime real estate. I have the money. That's a bombshell connection I had never made before. Epstein was freaking out about Trump having a summit with Kim Jong-un, and then is frantically emailing people trying to get a meeting with the North Korean dictator and buy prime real estate in North Korea. What's going on here? Why was Epstein so concerned about Trump reaching a nuclear deal with Kim Jong-un? I have a hunch. But wait, it gets even spookier. Then fast forward to June 30th, 2019. Trump completes third and final meeting with Kim Jong-un, where Trump famously stepped into North Korea. Then just 6 days later, July 6, 2019, Epstein was arrested, and his island was raided shortly after. Is it a coincidence that as soon as Trump was done in North Korea, Epstein was locked up? Number 5, now this is where I'm going to lose some people as we go further down the rabbit hole. According to the Q drops, the material from uranium-1 didn't just end up in Iran. They claim it ended up in North Korea as well. Q alleged that the Obama administration helped supply North Korea with U.S. uranium. Just a quick side note, remember the plan was for them to, they sold uranium-1 to Russia, but they skimmed some of it off the top and gave some to Iran and some to North Korea, and they were planning to drop a bomb, nuclear bomb in like Seattle or someplace like that out west, and blame it on Russia, and they wanted to trigger this nuclear war, hence that's why they built all the bunkers and the tunnels, and that's if Hillary had gotten into office. That was part of the 16-year plan, and that's why we're trying to get this uranium back from Iran, because it can be traced back to uranium-1 and Obama, of course. That's the Q drop. Then C drop 194, Q outlines the path of the uranium and alleges it ended up in Iran, North Korea, the home of both the rogue nuclear programs that Trump has targeted in both his terms. Then Q makes a reference to the Rothschild family with the line, why? What does it mean to be covered in gold? Q later confirmed the Y symbol in reference to covered in gold was code for the Rothschild banking family. And what did Epstein say in a 2016 exchange with Peter Thiel? Epstein said, as you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. There's the post in the email. In conclusion, if we're going to assume there is any validity to the Q drops that Trump himself has quoted alluded to hundreds of times, I believe they are saying that North Korea and Iran were avenues for the Rothschilds, one of the ruling families of the deep state, to gain control of nuclear weapons. Epstein was an errand boy for the Rothschilds and part of the Democrat Obama-Clinton brain trust. If the allegations about uranium-1 are legitimate, then Epstein surely would have been involved, and his email history adds some validity to it. I don't think the real story about Epstein is the pedo stuff. I think it's about North Korea, the Rothschilds, and Uranium One. So this article just proves what most of us already knew, that North Korea and Iran were these rogue nuclear states being used by the cabal as proxies, and they were going to be used to trigger nuclear war. Maybe North Korea was a backup, but remember when Trump went on his worldwide tour with the red folders of evidence, and the evidence was probably Epstein files type evidence with the, pedophilia and worse. So my guess is when he went to North Korea, then showed the evidence, North Korea, Kim Jong-un fell underneath the control of the alliance. That's what I'm guessing. But it just proves these connections, and Epstein, it's all connected. And, we can see that now that the evidence is coming out.
Good morning. It's Monday, the 29th of June, 2026. I've told you many, many times about those people who were arrested 4 years ago. And people were like, well, I don't see any evidence. I don't see any evidence. Well, the evidence is coming out right now for those people who are aware. And this is all to do with frequency. And I'll give you one example, because mainstream media are not telling you the truth. Certainly not the whole truth. I'll give you one example. There's a man in America called John Bolton. John Bolton was arrested and charged. Nothing in mainstream media. And even now, no mention of the fact that he's been arrested and charged. But there is a mention of the fact that he's been found guilty and fined 2.5 million and will be serving time in prison. Now, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to work out that if you've been fined 2.5 million and you're going to spend time in prison, that you've probably been arrested and charged. But they didn't tell you that bit, did they? But it's there in plain sight when you know. So you're hearing that these people are going to prison. You're hearing these people are getting fined. You're hearing all this stuff, but you're not adding a very simple 1 + 1. That to be charged or to go to prison and be fined, you have to be charged. You have to be arrested and charged. That's how the system works. But they forget to tell you that part. That's how media works. They just put out there that, oh, he's been fined and, oh, he'll spend some time in prison. But they fail to mention to you, the public, that he was arrested and charged. So when you see cases of people being fined and going to prison, please add 1 and 1 together. Morning, Drew.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. Well, going to the UK, King Charles and Prince William have for the first time supposedly publicly revealed how much personal tax they've paid, making an unprecedented move towards greater transparency within the British monarchy. Buckingham Palace confirmed that King Charles paid £12.9 million in tax for the 2024-25 financial year and has paid more than £30 million since becoming king in 2022. Prince William also disclosed that he paid £7.76 million in tax for 2024-2025, bringing his total tax payments to more than £20 million since becoming Prince of Wales. The disclosure accompanied wider changes to the reporting of royal finances. The annual Sovereign Grant Report also confirmed that public funding for the monarchy will move to £99.9 million a year from 2027, while Buckingham Palace's long-running refurbishment nears completion. Supporters say the move demonstrates a commitment to greater accountability and openness. Critics argue that questions remain over the wider financial arrangements surrounding the monarchy, including the Duchess and the level of public funding.
Yeah, what a beautiful story and what a load of absolute poppycock. For those people who actually do any research at all, this reminds me of the story of what a wonderful man Bill Gates is because he gives so much money to charity. The fact is that he owns the charity, and that charity gives to another charity of his, that gives to another charity of his, that gives. So it looks like he's given so much to charity, but it just goes round and round in circles. So that the public think, whoa, what a wonderful person. This is all part of the pantomime. But this is to wake people up. Anybody who does any research at all will find out the truth. And I'm not going to tell you. This is something you have to do yourself, because if I tell you, you won't believe it. So it's time for you guys to do your own research or live in your happy bubble. There are so many people out there that just live in their happy bubble until, like recently, one of my other friends who lives in his happy bubble suddenly found out certain things are not quite what he thought they were within the banking world. Once you mess with their money, oh, their bubble goes bang. Very, very interesting. My next story is also, this is more of a, not so much a story, but a word of advice. Everybody who's listening to me right now will have heard about the reset, will have heard about the great transfer of wealth. And this is going to be a piece of very, very good advice from bitter experience. When you come into money, a substantial amount of money, I'm going to advise you from personal experience. The best thing you can do, if you come into a large amount of money is nothing for 90 days. Because most of the mistakes when we get money are made within the first 90 days. Sit back and evaluate the situation from a position of strength, knowing that you've got a large amount of money, knowing that most of your problems have gone away. Now, obviously, it's wisdom to be able to buy yourself food and drink out of that money and to be able to pay your bills. But before you do anything stupid, sit back for 90 days. Now, you've been listening to me for 7 years, so 90 days is only 3 months. You can manage it. And if you do, you'll make smart choices rather than foolish choices. And that's coming from a man who's made many, many foolish choices. Learn from experience. There are plenty of people out there who will tell you exactly the same thing, that have come into large amounts of money. During my life, when I did jobs, I would earn $1 million, $5 million per time. And then I'd just have one big party and enjoy my life. And I look back and think of some of the stupid things that I wasted my money on. Where what you need to do is look at yourself and your future, as my wife will tell me, that we need to look after ourselves long term, not short term. Short term, you can be so happy, but that's only for a short term. So that's my little piece of advice for you. As we get very close to one of the greatest resets of all time, the biggest transfer of wealth that you and I will ever know is in our lifetime. Don't miss the opportunity to set yourself up for life. True.
Next up, Britain's heatwave has caused refrigeration systems to fail in several supermarkets, forcing stores to remove chilled and frozen food from sale. Industry leaders say aging cooling systems are struggling with record temperatures. Now we know why they've been cooking us like chickens, Charlie.
Yeah, this makes me smile because it's just preparing you mentally, because they know that they could very easily shut down the food chain and, oh, all of the air conditioning's gone down because it's been so hot. and they can simply cut off your food supply like that. We saw it before with the farmers. The food chain stops literally within 72 hours, 3 days gone. When everybody went to the supermarkets, they ran out of chicken, they ran out of toilet paper, they ran out of everything in 3 days. We're trying to educate you here to understand what they're doing, to teach you what they're doing. Do not believe the BS. And as my masseuse, who looks after me and has done for many, many years, lives off-grid, grows all her own stuff, creates her own electricity from solar, has her own well. She's not dependent on the supermarkets. She's not dependent on that. We've all become so dependent on other people, which is fine until they let you down. I'll leave you with that thought. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow. It's nearly the end of June. Half the year's gone already. Don't panic. Things are going to get better. But it's a bit bumpy right now, but have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.
In this next clip, Matt highlights Trump's speech about the Democrat Socialists of America and that they are really just communists. Trump is using the same tactics the globalists or deep state use by labeling the party communists. And that's what they are. Because most people associate that term with the Soviet Union and Mao's China. Uneducated people hear the term socialist and actually think it's a good form of government, like the term labor. Sounds like they are for the people and supporting the little guy. If you look back in time, the deep state has been slowly changing the meaning of the word socialist and associating it with justice and anti-fascism, etc. Words are used to program people's ideology. Just remember that. And we know that. We've seen that in the mainstream media when they have their terms of the day, their 4 a.m. talking points where, they have to use, a phrase or a term in their news reporting. So, once you start to see it, it's hard to miss. Communists also hate Christians because our Constitution is based on Christianity. We believe that God gives us freedom. Freedom is naturally given to us by God, by our Creator, not by the government. Freedom and free will, these are concepts the communists don't want people to think that are just something that you get because you're alive. They want you to be controlled by them. They want you to look at government as God and that they supply freedom. They supply whether you can speak or not. But a Christian-based country with the Constitution that we have based on the Christian values does not support that at all. Our laws are written with God in mind, that God gave us natural free will and freedom to, create our own destiny.
At this point, I'm sure you're all wondering, very fair question. Okay, we've identified the problem. Yeah, there's a rise in communism in the Democrat Party, big problem. What can we do about it? What can President Trump actually do about all of this communist infiltration? Well, we have a couple answers. Let's break it all down. You see, if President Trump was so inclined, and I'll tell you what, with the stuff he's saying today, it sure seems like he is, what he could do is dust off, blow the dust off of not one, but two very powerful pieces of legislation dating back to the early era of the Cold War, the early days of the Cold War. These two pieces of legislation are called, one, the Internal Security Act of 1950, and two, the Communist Control Act of 1954. Have you heard about those? And by dusting off these two very powerful pieces of legislation passed, seriously, They're in effect right now. Nobody talks about them. Nobody enforces them. Nobody does anything. They are on the books right now. By enforcing and dusting off these two acts, going back to the early 1950s, Trump could attempt to do the following. One, he could instruct the DOJ to open investigations into any groups, organizations, or individuals who organize around Marxist or Leninist political philosophy that are advocating to overthrow or undermine the U.S. Republic. They'd be worried about that because that's what they're doing. Number two, Trump, well, the DOJ could then pursue criminal federal charges against anyone inside of the U.S. who meets this criteria, trying to communistically undermine the U.S., our republic, or who has been found to be actively working with any foreign entity that similarly meets this criteria. So if you're inside of America right now and you're working with the Cuban communist regime, with the North Korean communist regime, with the Chinese communist regime, guess what? Criminal federal charges. It's on the books. We already have the power to do this. What's more, Trump could also instruct the State Department to revoke the citizenship of naturalized U.S. citizens, or they could also similarly revoke the legal immigrant status for any immigrant individual inside of the U.S. who meets any of this criteria. So let's brainstorm for a second. What might this look like? Somebody like Mamdani, who has publicly, it's matter of record, who has publicly supported and espoused communist, Leninist, Marxist beliefs. He is a naturalized immigrant. He wasn't, or a naturalized citizen. He was not born a U.S. citizen. He's an immigrant here. He came from Uganda to the U.S. a couple decades ago. He got his citizenship. I wish he didn't, but he did. He is a U.S. citizen now. He's naturalized. That naturalized citizenship for Mamdani could be revoked under these pretenses, communist sympathies. Okay? It could be done. It could be done. The legislation exists alongside all of his other, members of his communist cohort, all of them across the country. Another name that comes to mind is Hassan Piker. You heard of him? Big time communist sympathizer, immigrant to the country, Turkish immigrant. He's a big left-wing communist broadcaster over on Twitch. He's on YouTube. Guess what? Maybe we could get rid of him too under these same legislative pretenses. The legislation exists. It's been on the books for about 70 years, over 70 years, some of it. So ladies and gentlemen, Trump says he's going to be going scorched earth against the commies. People are saying, well, what is he going to do? Trump says he's been preparing for a long time for this stuff. And it's true, as a matter of fact, he has with his relationships back in the past with Cohn. Okay? It's this type of stuff we might be seeing Trump might start doing this stuff here in the very near future. It sure seems like he will. And I'll tell you what, as far as I'm concerned, this is the type of stuff we need to see if we truly want to put America.
In 1963, following the Red Scare period of history, Congress read aloud the 45 goals of the Communist Party. As you listen, you can check off practically every one of those goals achieved, and the Democrat Party was the party linked up to it. Some rhinos also. I believe both parties are captured operations at this point. Just follow the money. Trump and the White Hats are undoing their plans. Also notice the goals make reference to a new world order, one world government with the UN as its blueprint. This should logically tell you that as far back as the 1950s, people knew about the deep state and its goals. This was a warning to us now.
The Communist Manifesto that was read on the U.S. House floor on Thursday, January 10, 1963. The 45 Communist Goals as read into the Congressional Record, 1963. Congressional Record Appendix, pages A34-A35. January 10, 1963. Current Communist Goals. Extension of remarks of Han A.S. Herlong, Jr. of Florida in the House of Representatives. Mr. Herlong. Mr. Speaker, Mrs. Patricia Nordman of DeLand, Florida, is an ardent and articulate opponent of communism, and until recently published the DeLand Courier, which she dedicated to the purpose of alerting the public to the dangers of communism in America. At Mrs. Nordman's request, I include in the record, under unanimous consent, the following current communist goals, which she identifies as an excerpt from The Naked Communist, by Cleon Skousen. From The Naked Communist, by Cleon Skousen. Current communist goals. 1. U.S. acceptance of coexistence as the only alternative to atomic war. 2. U.S. willingness to capitulate in preference to engaging in atomic war. 3. Develop the illusion that total disarmament, by the United States would be a demonstration of moral strength. 4. Permit free trade between all nations regardless of communist affiliation and regardless of whether or not items could be used for war. 5. Extension of long-term loans to Russia and Soviet satellites. 6. Provide American aid to all nations regardless of communist domination. 7. Grant recognition of Red China. Admission of Red China to the UN. 8. Set up East and West Germany as separate states in spite of Khrushchev's promise in 1955 to settle the German question by free elections under supervision of the UN. 9. Prolong the conferences to ban atomic tests because the United States has agreed to suspend tests as long as negotiations are in progress. 10. Allow all Soviet satellites individual representation in the UN. 11. Promote the UN as the only hope for mankind. If its charter is rewritten, demand that it be set up as a one-world government with its own independent armed forces. Some communist leaders believe the world can be taken over as easily by the UN as by Moscow. Sometimes these two centers compete with each other as they are now doing in the Congo. 12. Resist any attempt to outlaw the Communist Party. 13. Do away with all loyalty oaths. 14. Continue giving Russia access to the U.S. Patent Office. 15. Capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. 16. Use technical decisions of the courts to weaken basic American institutions by claiming their activities violate civil rights. 17. Get control of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Get control of teachers' associations. Put the party line in textbooks. 18. Gain control of all student newspapers. 19. Use student riots to foment public protests against programs or organizations which are under communist attack. 20. Infiltrate the press. Get control of book review assignments, editorial writing, policy-making positions. 21. Gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. 22. Continue discrediting American culture by degrading all forms of artistic expression. An American communist cell was told to eliminate all good sculpture from parks and buildings, substitute shapeless, awkward and meaningless forms. 23. Control art critics and directors of art museums. Our plan is to promote ugliness, repulsive, meaningless art. 24. Eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech and free press. 25. Break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. 26. Present homosexuality, degeneracy and promiscuity as normal, natural, healthy. 27. Infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion. Discredit the Bible and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity which does not need a religious crutch. 28. Eliminate prayer or any phase of religious expression in the schools on the ground that it violates the principle of separation of church and state. 29. Discredit the American Constitution by calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, out of step with modern needs, a hindrance to cooperation between nations on a worldwide basis. 30. Discredit the American Founding Fathers. Present them as selfish aristocrats who had no concern for the common man. 31. Belittle all forms of American culture and discourage the teaching of American history on the ground that it was only a minor part of the big picture. Give more emphasis to Russian history since the communists took over. 32. Support any socialist movement to give centralized control over any part of the culture, education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics, etc. 33. Eliminate all laws or procedures which interfere with the operation of the communist apparatus. 34. Eliminate the House Committee on Un-American Activities. 35. Discredit and eventually dismantle the FBI. 36. Infiltrate and gain control of more unions. 37. Infiltrate and gain control of big business. 38. Transfer some of the powers of arrest from the police to social agencies. 42. Create the impression that violence and insurrection are legitimate aspects of the American tradition, that students and special interest groups should rise up and use united force to solve economic, political, or social problems. 43. Overthrow all colonial governments before native populations are ready for self-government. 44. Internationalize the Panama Canal. 45. Repeal the Connolly Reservation so the United States cannot prevent the World Court.
The deep state firings have begun. From Edward Snowden on Telegram. Those aren't my words. That's a direct quote from the new Director of National Intelligence, Bill Pulte, as of yesterday. Let me tell you what's actually happening right now. Trump fired the NSA Director, General Timothy Hoff. Gone. His deputy, Wendy Noble, gone. The National Counterterrorism Center, gutted. Hundreds of intelligence officers across 18 agencies terminated. 120,000 people work in America's intelligence community. The purge has started. But here's what they're not telling you on the news. It's not about budget cuts. When Pulte walked into ODNI headquarters on June 19th, he was handed a classified briefing labeled Tier O Access Only. What he found in that building made him call the White House at 11:47 p.m. that same night. I've been told what was in those files. Operation Looking Glass, a domestic surveillance program that tracked 47 million American patriots based on their social media activity, church attendance, and gun purchases. Active since 2014, never authorized by Congress. Run by 3 senior officials who reported to no one. Crossfire continuation. The FBI's operation against Trump didn't end in 2017. It was transferred to a subunit within ODNI and ran continuously through his entire first term, his trial, and his 2024 campaign. 23 agents, $89 million in black budget funds. They intercepted communications between Trump and 14 world leaders, then leaked them to the Washington Post. January 6 infiltration files. Pulte found documentation of 12 federal agents embedded in the crowd that day, not observing, directing. 3 of them are still employed. Their handler's name is in the file. Trump told the Wall Street Journal that Pulte is less shackled. You don't use that word by accident. He's unleashed. The Supreme Court just ruled 6-3 that federal judges can no longer issue nationwide injunctions to stop him. The last legal shield is gone. They can't stop the firings. They can't hide the files. They can't protect the names. Gabbard declassified the biolabs. Pulte is declassifying the surveillance. The next DNI, Jay Clayton, will declassify everything. Phase 1. Expose. Phase 2. Purge. We are here. Phase 3. Prosecute. Every patriot they spied on. Every journalist they fed lies to. Every agent who infiltrated a rally. Every dollar they stole from the black budget. All of it's coming out. Looking Glass. 47 million. Crossfire continuation. 23. J6 handler. Identified. The house of cards is collapsing. One floor at a time.
And I'm just going to refer to Trump's post right here. In light of the tremendous loss in the Supreme Court today concerning voters' rights and the fact that people's votes are allowed to be counted long after an election is over, it is more important than ever to pass the Save America Act, which is all voters must show photo ID, all voters must show proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel. The House of Representatives has approved this vital act 3 times. The United States Senate seems unable to do so. Our 5 Republican Senate holdouts, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Tom Tillis, Bill Cassidy, Mitch McConnell, must vote to save our country. There can be no more excuses. Observing consciousness, SCOTUS handed Congress the key. by Tara Zutz, Monday, June 29th. There is a little diagram there you can look at. Observing consciousness. SCOTUS handed Congress the key. The Supreme Court just moved the election integrity battle out of the courtroom and directly into Congress. The majority ruled that a ballot cast by Election Day may still arrive and be counted later under state law. Then the court placed the remedy in plain sight. Election integrity, voter confidence, and any national ballot receipt deadline must be addressed by elected representatives. Trump seized that opening immediately. He is converting a judicial loss into a legislative forcing function. Photo identification establishes the voter. Proof of citizenship establishes eligibility. Firm limits on mail voting reduce the number of handoffs between the voter, the carrier, the election office, and the tabulation system. Identity, eligibility, chain of custody, timing. Together they form the foundation of a sovereign election stack that can be audited across every state. The third demand is the tell. The House passed Save America Act already contains proof of citizenship and photo identification, while its current language still allows mail ballots through additional verification. Trump has now raised the negotiating baseline and defined the stronger architecture he expects the Senate to deliver. I think we will soon watch Congress begin coming around. They will arrive slowly enough to preserve the appearance of randomness. One senator here, another there, keeping them guessing about who will move next and when the remaining resistance will collapse. Trump appears to hold extraordinary leverage over Washington, whether that leverage comes through evidence, exposure, political pressure inside the system. The pattern will be the same. He will reel them in one by one. The war language serves the same purpose. He is recategorizing election law as national security infrastructure. The legitimacy of government rests upon the legitimacy of the vote, making election security a sovereign duty. Naming the senators completes the pressure cycle. Procedural obstruction now carries names, votes, and political consequences. The court established the boundary. Congress now owns the solution. Trump is turning the ruling into leverage and forcing the Senate toward a single verifiable and auditable national standard before the midterms. The court did not end the fight. It handed Trump the fishing pole. Let's see how this plays out.
Secrets. So just left Cali. Boy, woo! So like California. The quake energy there is strong. So I was holding it so I could get out, and I don't know what's going to happen now, but I'm expecting the ground is going to shake all the way over here in Nevada here pretty soon. So, and who knows? Maybe not. Maybe you guys in Cali will be able to get together and pray, and it won't happen. But it's really looking like it's going to. All right, so let's look at some of the things that are going on out there. Just had a 5.5 off the coast of Oregon in that area where we're expecting Cascadia basically to create a tsunami. And usually when it happens, a fairly significant quake like happened today happens right after the full moon, the strawberry moon, right? So right after that, usually there is activity, which there was with that full moon. So, so we had a 5.5 out there. And next we're going to have a planetary alignment. All right, so lots of planets are lining up. So it's looking like something. And so we need to just be aware of the possibility of, things getting a little jiggy out there. Okay, so let's look at Mr. MBB 333. He had a little show about this, and let's play it and see. So he basically does a planetary alignment of what's coming.
Soon as we entered full moon phase, and we know how the full moon influences the planets, especially the Earth, not the planets, but it plays a part in the planetary alignment situation whenever the Earth is in these unique alignments. And we are again and we have another full moon, just like we did last month. And look, we had the earthquake off the coast of Oregon, a 5.5 right here, just as the full moon was coming up over the horizon. Unbelievable. I mean, the timing was impeccable. This one here down in southern Illinois, are you kidding me right now? Illinois is definitely not known for earthquake activity. I mean, really? Yes, really. And then an earthquake in central South Carolina. I mean, wow. Look at right through there. That's why I drew that line. There was a big old arc that went right through North America here in the United States. And there's what was that, a 3.5? I mean, that is unheard of. Man. Madrid. And here's the one in North. They do have earthquakes in South Carolina from time to time. They didn't used to have. It's kind of a new thing. But yeah, earthquakes popping off. So just be aware, guys. That is going on. And with these, let me show you the planetary alignments that we're in. It's very similar to the situation that we were in about 30 days ago, 28 days ago. Here we go. I'm going to show you guys what's up. I look at the planetary alignments all the time, and this is going to a long duration for sure. So here we go. This is the current situation of the planets. Mercury is right there in retrograde. Those of you that follow Mercury in retrograde, yes, it's in retrograde right now. But not these planetary alignments. We've still got Earth and Mercury over here sharing the same side of the sun. Earth is in an alignment here, and it's not a straight line. They have to be off center. There's another one there. Those all involve gas giants. The main component capacitor, the main one is the sun. That one right here. Earth.
All right. So it's Earth, Mercury, and Jupiter, the big planet with the big spot on it. So Venus, the sun, all that alignment right there is probably going to pull some energy as it usually does. So put some the energy coming from the sun. We've had lots of energy coming from the sun. That's also been sparking some of these earthquakes. And it's not looking so good for big earthquakes, or depending on how you look at it. It's looking real good for big earthquakes, but not for those people who are on the receiving end of it. So you have to, trust your intuition. We're in that time where you're going to be challenged, I think, on many different levels. And one of those levels will be the Earth activity that's going on. So trying to stay safe, keep your people safe, and so forth is going to be challenging for some because, they're not really tapped in. And then some will get trapped and won't do well, right? And this is what happens whenever we go through these periods. These periods have happened, throughout, thousands of years here on Earth, tens of thousands of years, and we're coming into a very, very major cycle. So just heads up, be very, very, cognizant of what's going on out there. Here's another, expert that's sharing some really good information. He's been doing a really good job of showing the slow slip. So let's listen to what the Earth Master has to say.
Out here is greater across the southern end than at an entirety there across the Cascadia. So watching this closely, a 5.5 off the coast of Oregon. Have we seen 5-pointers out here before? Obviously, yes, we have. But, each day, each second that goes by, we're that much closer to seeing a big earthquake out here. The tremor counts have been way elevated underneath this region. We're already seeing stress quakes down here. Following this event, 2.3, 14.7 miles deep here. Remember, what goes on up here along this strike slip boundary heads the general motion of stress kind of goes down in this fashion here towards the southern end. So we're already seeing, like I said, a couple earthquakes down here into the Cascadia, probably right around the locked area. It looks like about 14 miles deep underneath this area. Let me show you guys the tremor map here from the past week here. Now, this is the past week. We got 3,127. That's a good number. Definitely an elevated number. But here's yesterday's counts. which were the highest so far in the daily accumulation there of slow slip events. A little bit underneath Washington, underneath Seattle, but the majority of these events here over the last week and yesterday underneath Northern California and the southern coast here of Oregon. So stress building right here. You got
So you saw what those lots of those little slow slip events are. See what that area is. That's right on the border of Oregon and California, just above Eureka. Right. So that is where the earthquake activity comes down into this area and creates larger earthquakes. So again, like I've said, I believe we're going to have a tsunami and probably the Andreas kick, and then maybe other faults will kick eventually, the Hayward fault. So it's going to be a domino effect. That's what I've seen in my visions for this area. Whether it happens, sooner than maybe later, it's going to happen. It's building. We're getting close. Now, a lot of people have predicted this for, decades, right? But, and I've looked at this stuff for decades and, watched the other people predicting this and so forth. Things change. All right. So people get involved, I think, consciousness wise, and change things. But there's a lot of distractions these days, a lot of distractions. And what used to be, I believe, people that were very tuned in to these vibrational activities and, the frequencies and so forth, and were able to allay them, push them and push them to another date. I think we're reaching the end of, how we can push these. They're going to have to come out. They're going to have to be relieved. And this is part of the cycle. Like I said, the earth energies and so forth. The earth is going through changes as well. So they build up over time, build up over hundreds of years, sometimes 1,000 years, like some of these. The San Andreas fault, I guess, has, of course, it's had some shocks over the years, but the overall buildup stretches for 1,000 years. So it's looking like we're going to get some serious activity. Everything is pointing to now the earthquake activity we're seeing right now, the energy volumes that are coming off the sun, the electrical energies and so forth. This streams of plasma that are coming from the sun that's impacting the earth. It energizes the earth and then it gets impacted again, energizes it higher. We see earthquake activity and volcanic activity happening. It gets hit again. It energizes even more and more and more and more earthquake and volcanic activity. That cycle is not going to stop for a while. All right. So again, the slow slip, quakes that are happening on a massive level, and then right down in here is usually where we have the earthquakes later on.
And in the middle point here, that's where the stress is building. That's where the locked section is. So yeah, there's a lot going on out here around the globe here, and all these subduction zones and areas that have been building up stress and strain for a couple hundred years are starting to get big earthquakes. Good possibility it could be our turn out here along the West Coast. Just have to be on guard. We'll check out the tremor counts out here a little bit later on this evening. Once they come out, it's about 6 o'clock in the evening there, early evening.
All right, so we're 6 o'clock. Could be checking them, or maybe he's already checked them. So I'm going to check back and see, what he has as far as tremor counts. Now, tremor counts leading to big earthquakes. That's something that happens, and we saw on the opposite side, the antipode side, there was I think it was a 4.5. I checked this out in USGS. There was a 4.5 in Indonesia, 4.4, 4.5 earthquake in Indonesia. So the antipode would have been Venezuela, where it struck. So I know a lot of people think it's a flat Earth. I don't believe it's flat Earth. I believe it's a round roundish something earth, right? Because of the way things are interacting. If it was a straight line, flat earth, it wouldn't interact the way it is, where we're seeing antipode on the opposites of the globe earthquake activity from one that happens, right? So 4.4 in Indonesia, and then the 7.2, and some are saying 7.3, 7.8, whatever they are, right? That the USGS decides to tell us, right? For the earthquake activity, it was big, right? It was big, massive, deformation of the plates and so forth. Now let's look at some of that, some of the updated devastation. As you can see here, this is a little drone flight. Now look at all of these buildings, how they've collapsed. Do you guys see any steel in there? No. They built these, the communists are thieves, right? They built these buildings not to code. And we're going to talk, we're going to see some we're going to be talking about this, but this is part of communism, and the United States is going communist. Right? The communists are starting to take over control of America. So no steel in these buildings. There's probably might be some steel in these pillars. That might be why they did not collapse. But those other buildings, as you guys could see, just completely collapsed. And of course, the numbers of people that are missing is still pretty significant, depending on where you're looking, who's giving the information out. It's same as the Twin Towers. Something else happened with the Twin Towers. So all the steel that was in the Twin Towers, they cut that, and directed energy weapons and so forth. I don't see them using directed energy weapons on all those buildings. I just think they really shut that place, right? And I do think it was HARP that was used, probably HARP that came from Antarctica, right? So we know that the Nazis went down to Antarctica. The Nazis are trying to take over the world. President Trump is not a Nazi, and he's trying to help Venezuela break free from the Nazis, and they just basically gave Venezuela a little taste of what it's like to not be with the Nazi system anymore, right? So will California get that taste? Because I don't know, because California is going Nazi. They're going communist. So I don't know. Maybe California's not going to go through that, or maybe they will, because California and the Nazis that are in California and the communists that are in California, it's one and the same really to me, are pretty much, of the belief that they're serving the master and the master is going to take care of them. All right. Lucifer does not do that. Right. Lucifer uses you as long as he can, and then he cuts you free. And sometimes, and oftentimes, when he cuts you free, he destroys you and everyone that's like you that was, serving him, because that's the way he is, right? So, people get fooled into believing that they're going to be protected, and maybe some of them are to a certain extent until they're no longer useful. But that's the way that system works. Now let's look at what the problem was with these buildings. These buildings, you're looking at 800 buildings that have collapsed or in or have had problems. 300, I think over 300, maybe 600 or something like that, completely collapsed. And then there's 800 total that are in, to the point where they're going to have to be probably torn down. So that's more than a directed energy weapon. That's more than people coming in and putting thermite in the steel structure. That's, and then once the steel that's left, they come in with trucks and they take it out and they put it on the docks and they ship it up to China as fast as they can so that people can see the deformation. We saw some of the deformation. People have reported on that. I've got a book on that, the deformation from the directed energy weapon. And it basically causes these crazy vortexes that you see in tornadoes. Tornadoes will cause portaling type portaling, and that's how buildings get sucked into and blast into nothingness. Or a 2x4 will, go through the air and stick. It looks like it's gone through the air and stuck in a building. Well, that building at that point has gone plasma-like, and the 2x4 comes in there, and then the energy goes, and then it's like it froze in there. Because if a 2x4 did hit the building, it would shatter. But you're seeing these 2x4s that are stuck in the building perfect, right? There's lots of examples of that, and that's from the vortex energy that's happening. Did vortex energy happen in Venezuela? On some level deep within the earth, I believe. This is what HAARP does, creates some kind of vortexual energy. Then they focus it on fault zones, and then those fault zones fail, like we saw, right? Now, if it was stored up energy, like normally happens in an earthquake, you would see massive numbers of aftershocks right afterwards. And we haven't seen that. We've seen a few, and maybe those few that we've seen have been stimulated to go as well. I don't know. But maybe they're aftershocks for real because they stimulated that fault. But you would think if it was real energy that was, well, you don't have to think about it. It's science, right? When the energy is there and the fault goes, the energy continues to release and release and release and release, hundreds, thousands of tremors afterwards. We haven't seen that there. So another thing that leads me to believe that that was, and I felt that right away as an intuitive. I was like, that was HAARP that did that. All right. So, all right. So let's look at some other information about this, because I'm always researching, and I try and find the best for you guys and for myself as well. So this is On the Pulse with Silky. All right, she does a really good job. Let's look at what she has to say about this.
Perspective. So let's talk about the debris, and let's talk about what they're finding. So some say this could be the reason why the towers are all falling in the same way. Did they cut corners? Many are built by the same project, by the same contractor. Many contractors are from out of country. We've heard that, some from Russia, some from China. We cannot identify which tower right now that fell was built by whom, but definitely destruction in some development projects where we do know that, and that might have received criticism. As an example, the Hugo Chavez housing complex, you see the image here where one is still standing, and then you see the rubble in front of it, but all these images here are from that complex. 7,000 people reside there. It's reported that the vast majority of the structures collapsed. So you have to imagine, of the 193 buildings, only 3 remained standing.
All right, so there's Hugo. All right, so Hugo Chavez, communist. I remember a film where a guy was talking about how he was friends with Chavez, had supported Chavez. He was a wealthy man, and Chavez turned on him and said that he was going to take, and he told all the people that he was going to take his home. And he had a very luxurious condo and, one of these high-rise, buildings. I guess they're very popular there in Venezuela. So everybody has a nice view, has a pool and so forth, go out to the beach. Who wouldn't want that? And so in this area, they had a lot of that. So a lot of these buildings collapsed. And they collapsed and a lot of these buildings, like she's talking about, were built by Chavez, right? The communists. So this guy basically said, yeah, I'm coming for your buildings. I forget the guy's name. Let's say Hugo, right? Hugo, I'm coming for your buildings, or whatever his name was. And he said, I remember in the documentary, he was like, I couldn't believe it. I had supported him. And how many people in Hollywood, how many people that are very wealthy throughout California have supported the Democrat Party, right? The Communist Party. And this is very, and we've already seen the result of that. You know, directed energy weapons have come into California and have decimated California, several cities in California, Paradise, you know, on and on and on, Malibu, all up and down the coast. And I've seen some of it. I went and looked at some of it, and I'm like, this is absolutely directed energy weapon. I could see it. I could see the way it had gone through a fencing and had melted the fencing, and had gone through and melted a beautiful tree that was a palm that was on the other side of this fence, and went down into this valley and took out several homes, while the other homes that were not in the line, obviously, of the aircraft that was directing the directed energy weapon, couldn't get to the other houses. But the fencing on either side of this area was perfect, and the fencing, still standing, of course, was melted where the directed energy went through. I mean, it's so freaking obvious. It's unbelievable, right? Pacific Palisades, you know, it's the homes there. The trees are all around, and the homes are melted to nothing, dustified, right? You have ceramics and marble and porcelain and all that stuff, metals, dishwashers, everything gone, nothing left, right? Just dust. So that's directed energy weapon. Now here, you don't see everything dustified. So this is real earthquake activity. Now, the problem with this building, 193 buildings, only 3 standing. Hello, all right? So the way they were built. So the communists always cut corners, all right? So, or, you know, devastate to the point where they can come in and take over. So I don't know, maybe they're devastating here so they can come back and take over. I don't know. So it is very tragic. No steel. Like I pointed out, there's no steel. There's some of the buildings you can see the steel, and those are the ones that are still standing, but the ones without steel. Now, there might be a little bit of steel in here. You know, is that from not building material? Is that from something else? All right. So some kind of steel poles there, but I don't think that's building material. So we're going to look at this a little bit more. So what did they use instead of steel?
According to reports. So experts are now pointing out that among the possible causes of the disaster would be the low quality of the materials, the lack of supervision when they were built, and the absence of anti-seismic construction rules.
Now, they had in 1967 a very massive earthquake that dropped a lot of buildings. So you would think that they would have, you know, updated building codes. Obviously not, because they're communists and they cut corners.
I mean, 193 buildings, only 3 standing. That is bad, to say the least. So we do have complaints and images emerging that the columns of the buildings that were built only in 2011, I mean, they should have learned from the 1967 earthquake that gave a similar picture. And they did say that they would revise codes and build to better standards. So Hugo Chavez, development area 2011. So they say they would have used light materials such as expanded polystyrene, EPS called, or anime in parts of their construction. So the initial purpose of that housing development was to relocate thousands of people affected by the heavy rains of 2010 and to give access to homes for low-income families. So, of course, they were not luxury apartments. Of course, if you see the images of the rubble here, it really looks like, I mean, you wouldn't even build a sandcastle with that. That would not hold up. But then there's other people that say information needs to be corroborated. That material, EPS, is used in construction, but not on columns. And they're giving
So as you can see here, there's the differences in the, they have steel, and over here they have this not completely styrofoam, but like a very highly pressed styrofoam type material. And you're going to see, and it looks pretty obvious the way those buildings pancake down, that they did not use steel and that they used this pressed styrofoam type stuff.
Images. So yeah, it's the question, where was it used? Other people say, no, the load-bearing columns of a building should never be filled with expanded example images. So yeah, it's the question, where was it used? Other people say, no.
So here you see there is rebar, but in those other buildings that were pancaked, looks like not so much. All right, so you can see in this building, looks like some steel rebar that's quite twisted. Probably wasn't up to code, so it got twisted very easily. All right, so I don't know. Maybe this stuff happens in these types of earthquakes. I don't, the energy of these earthquakes, the way things move, the way the earth moves. But for a lot of those buildings, you're not seeing any steel rebar or steel columns. You're seeing steel rebar with these concrete, or maybe some of these are the styrofoam type stuff.
Bearing columns of a building should never be filled with expanded polystyrene, like anime. If a column that supports the weight of a building were filled with anime, the structure would collapse immediately. Anime has no structural strength. So his estimate is what you're probably seeing in the video, or what is causing the confusion, is due to these real construction methods. So lost formwork. Sometimes anime is used as an internal mold to shape certain decorative concrete elements or hollow beams, but the weight is supported by steel and concrete on the outside. Expansion joints between two adjacent buildings or structures, an anime sheet is usually placed. So this serves to prevent the two buildings from colliding and destroying each other when it shakes.
All right, so here you see he's coming in and he's just taking this apart with his hand. All right, so that's obviously not steel, right? And it's not concrete. It looks like it was pressed probably in where steel and concrete should be.
Or the concrete expands due to heat. The weight is supported by the beams, not the anime. So what you're seeing in the video is not a load-bearing column. So I hope that this is the case. It makes sense, right? So
all right. So it looks like this poor building materials were used, and that's why you're seeing the devastation there. What's it going to look like in Cali, right? Especially LA. Not all of LA, because I believe that they do have good building codes, but we know that we've had the Democrats have been running the show for quite some time, guys. and they cut corners. They get, they let their illegal buddies come in and build and so forth. The fraud is over the top with the Democrats. We could see some very massive devastation in California, just like we saw in Venezuela. Probably not on the level of Venezuela, unless we get a much higher, wave count, like 8.8 or something like that, like we saw in Russia about 10 months ago. So if we get something like that off the coast, and then we get a pancaking or domino effect going from fault to fault, which is something I've seen, then you could see something like that throughout Seattle, Oregon, Portland, because they're all Democrats have been in those states for a long time, right? And down into California. If it goes all the way down into LA, I would be surprised if we don't see massive devastation. Now, we saw massive devastation with a lot less with the bridges, pancaking down on top of in the Northridge earthquake. That was pretty devastating. So it's sad that to see these people trapped, including pets and babies. God be with those rescue workers. So unfortunately, at this point, there's not going to be many people found alive, because you have up until about the first 48 hours, 72 hours at the most, to rescue people. So we're past that point. Yes, there'll probably still be people that are found alive miraculously, and that's awesome. But you're going to find a lot more that are not alive at this point, a lot more. So they're looking at, still looking at maybe upwards of, 70,000 people, I think, that are still missing. Last I saw was like, I think 1,800 are deceased at this point. Over 3,000 are injured. So those numbers are going to pale in comparison to the Cascadia Fault slip. Right? So the tsunami that's coming in, because most people are along the coast, both coasts. So people and businesses and so forth are mostly on the coast. Now, there's not only people and businesses and so forth that are along the coast, but there's also a lot of refineries. So the refineries could get hit and they catch on fire, and that causes even more devastation. The power grid goes down, so it's harder to get around. There's road deformation, so emergency vehicles can't get around. So there's going to be some serious consequences of that would happen. The massive earthquake activity in the West Coast. All right, so I told you guys about how I was in Coronado one time where there was earth. I had been working for a couple days, so I was I was living in a condo overlooked Glorieta Bay, very beautiful area, Coronado, Dell, and the towers, and had a great view of the bay. And out in the bay, further out in the Mount Gloria Bay, further out in the San Diego Bay, some of the and a dragger dive, and they got thrashed around, and I was like shaking in my bed. I was like, ran outside and then stopped, and I was like, okay. I think that was my first big earthquake, and went back inside and everything was good. Of course, I'm an Navy SEAL. I went right back to sleep. So anywhere, it's amazing. So I heard later, guys were like talking about, we were thrashed around, and we came to the surface. We thought like a tugboat went over, and we came up to bitch at the guys. The guys are supposed to be looking out and make sure no boats came over us. And they're on the surface like, what are you guys coming up for? And they're like, didn't you guys feel that? And they're like, no, there's nothing happened. Get back down there, get back on the dive. So that was pretty wild. So let me show you what it looks like when you're underwater. I've never experienced, but these guys were talking about it. When an earthquake happens. So this is a 7.2 earthquake. So along the same lines as what they experienced, and even greater, of course, in Venezuela. And then I'm going to show you a video of coral and fish and everything, because you're going to see everything get thrashed around in this dive, and how that got just basically uplifted onto the beach, and the beach was lifted higher. Deformation. So this is something slowly, and then you're going to have very rapidly, and that's going to cause a tsunami, right? And that's going to cause, because it drops, there's going to be a lower, the level along the coast is, at a certain level right now. It's going to be lower on the West Coast, whereas here it was lifted. So let's look at this, and you guys get to see what it's like to be underwater when there is. So you saw how we're like, like just, and you're going to see in this next video, this woman that's walking along the coast of Venezuela, a few days now after the earthquake, of what the coastline looks like in Venezuela after the earthquake. So fish washed up on shore, coral washed up on shore, and boulders. I don't know if the boulders were like thrust up from underneath the earth, or if they came ashore from under. Wow. Trinidad Tobago area. So wow. That's not even Venezuela. And I did see some, I thought it was the same thing. I did see some that were deformation in Venezuela that was massive scale, where it had slipped and slipped and slipped and slipped, pushed the beach up, and it had like broken and broken and broken. So there is some of that in Venezuela, some of the Venezuelan beaches as well. So crazy things that, happen with this earthquake. And the same thing would happen, of course, in Cali. Now, in Cali, Cali, in Cali, they, in California, it was, a lot of California was built off of gold rush, silver, so oil, and still California, and they're not tapping into it that they could. There is massive amounts of oil in California, underneath this California. And in some areas, in some cities, they actually have buildings that hide oil wells. So let me show you this. Again, the fraud, corruption in California, it's all about, they had environmentalists come in, so they don't want to have any oil wells and so forth. So they're trying to do away with all that and go green. It's all BS. You look at Europe right now, they went super green, and now they said there was over 1,000 people that have died from the heat. Sensationalism, but and that's because France decided not to, have any air conditioners because they wanted to have a low carbon footprint. So the stupidity of these communists and leftists is extreme. They do not care about people. They have these airy-fairy ideas. I've seen this. Some of these people come and make, decisions in combat zones and so forth. Very frustrating. CIA types, for the most part, I was lucky. I worked around, very high-speed people. We didn't do any of that, right? But there's a lot of people trying to make stupid-ass decisions, and that's what California is all about right now.
The oil at La Brea is still seeping. It has not stopped for 40,000 years, and it is not stopping now. The 20,000 wells beneath Los Angeles County are still there, most idle, some active, all still sunk into the same basin that Doheny tapped with a telephone pole in 1892. And if the economics ever shift, if technology gets cheaper, if prices rise, if the calculus changes, the oil field that built Los Angeles once before could do something nobody in this city is currently expecting. It could change everything again.
Okay, so we know that oil generates. They lie, just like they do a lot of stuff, guys. They lie to us. It was from fossil plants that for millions of years had formed and then got pressurized by the earth on top of them. I don't know how they were on the surface and then they got down deep, but somehow they got pressurized and then they created this oil. And that oil was, we were told back in the 70s, was going away, right? There was only so much of it. Now, fast forward a little bit to when I was a Navy SEAL and I was running operations, teaching guys how to do, oil platform takedowns, like I'd learned at SEAL Team 6. So I came to SEAL Team 3 and I was teaching. I had like I think like a 12-week period where I started them right from the beginning. They did hand-to-hand. They learned how to shoot, demolition, and then learning how to room clear. And then we moved it to snipers and helicopters and, all kinds of stuff going off at the same time. I had them using night vision goggles and silenced weapons. Some groups weren't using those at the time. So, pushing the envelope, I've always done that my whole career. So I started having them go to, there was it used to be a boot camp in California, in San Diego, and the buildings were abandoned, but it was still there. So I had my guys, they would come in from the water when they're diving, get them off and take their weapons, sneak up and go into the buildings and simulation weapons. And then we did the same thing on oil platforms. So I stayed overnight on one of those oil platforms at our Santa Barbara coast. And Santa Barbara coast has like hundreds of right? Maybe upwards of 100 oil platforms off the coast. And very, very nice there. The like we take our boats out and the dolphins would be like all around jumping. Then oil platform and the great big eggs go down the legs and we get these giant right? And the guy on the platforms, you get us some? We're like, of course, I'm all happy. So I was talking to the manager of the oil, and he hinted to me, he's like, in the winter, you kind of don't pump as much. And I was like, why is that? We pumping, right? We'll have all of that. So we hinted replenishes in the winter when they don't pump as much. So all of that oil that was pumped out of Los Angeles is back again. All right. So yes, Los Angeles and all of that area, they have massive numbers of oil platforms now, and they're pumped. They go down and they go at an angle now, and they pressurize these, and they got all kind of techniques now where they get oil out, fracking and all kind of stuff. So there is massive amounts of oil in America. America has more oil than anywhere else in the world. All right. Now we hear where Venezuela's got lots of reserves, and we thought that the Middle East was the only place where the oil was. That's why we're importing from the Middle East, and then we learned to frack, and so we were fracking. So we're like going up these places where we couldn't go before, and getting all this oil. So California imports tons of oil. It's stupid because communists are stupid. Nazi, communist, Democrats are stupid, right? So you people that are in California are, like I keep telling you, are in trouble. Now, I just was in California in the Irvine area. Absolutely beautiful. It's too bad that all of California can't be like Irvine, and probably some other areas. Northern California is obviously quite spectacular as well. But you guys in the big cities, LA, San Francisco, San Diego, unfortunately, where I spent a lot of time. Again, they cleaned it up, and now it's a shithole again. All right, so serious problem. So energetics, consciousness, vibrational fields, all that stuff are not going so well in California, right? So you guys are in trouble. All right, I've said this over and over. New York, in trouble, right? I think there can be a rise in consciousness. New York, I doubt it. I doubt it, New York. Now, there's still a lot of beautiful people, not physically. Yes, physically, there's a lot of beautiful people in California, but I'm talking about consciousness-wise, right? But for the most part, a lot of, I mean, you drive in the traffic, and there's always the raging assholes of California drivers. Kind of, after having driven to California for decades, I know the assholes who just, oh, there's an asshole. So the guys are like, jam right up and, blow their horns or come right around you. And that's to be expected in California. You're going to have that. But for the most part, the people are good. But they have not, you guys in California have not risen to the challenge. You've built amazing cities in California, but you're letting them be taken. And you believe it's the government that is in charge, the government that's built them. You, the people, have built those cities. And it's kind of like that one song, we built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. So, these cities were built by us, and we can't let these assholes take them, but unfortunately, some of them will be and have been. So we can learn from the mistakes of cities that have been taken. Of course, Francisco going down. And then many, many others. Yes, you guys know SL Selly, you knew that one on rock and roll. So, there's lots of great people in the world, great people in the United States. And then there's some very, very evil people. And we've let them take over. And we've let them set a consciousness space in these cities. And they're the ones that are controlling. They're the ones that are building these cities. They're the ones that are rolling this, driving these cities into the ground. So we have to rise up. We have to stop it, right? And the love consciousness, I know I still say that, and some of you still don't understand. And maybe you'll go to your grave still not understanding, but those of you that do, you can make a difference. So love frequencies, for the love frequency, that Newsom and his wife are in trouble, big trouble, because they're exposing the fraud in California, and they're the fraudsters of all of them, the top of the fraudster chain, and they're being exposed massively. Remember how Mike was saying he was sending a lot of love to Newsom? Yeah, I know a lot of you guys did too. And the rest of you keep sending that love. We have them on the ropes, guys. We need to take them down, and we need to take back our cities. We need to take back our country. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration. And I'll see you guys next time.
Hello, Patriots. Now, there are wildfires in Utah going on, so I hope Judy is not being affected by them. Keep Judy in your prayers that she is safe and protected. And here is a report showing you those fires. I don't know exactly where Judy lives, but I know she lives in Utah. So I don't know if she's affected by these or not, but that's what's happening out there right now.
Multiple wildfires burning across Utah amid one of the rarest, most extreme weather warnings out west.
We are seeing things that we have never seen before.
Utah declaring a state of emergency as the National Weather Service calls it a particularly dangerous situation. At least 14 new fires erupting in the state in just 24 hours, forcing evacuations for several new counties. Overnight, 2 wildfires merging into one, the Cherry Fire burning more than 12,000 acres south of Salt Lake City. Officials there shutting off power. The Cottonwood Fire still 0% contained, now one of Utah's most destructive fires in the state's history, with more than 71,000 acres scorched.
The smoke cloud was getting bigger and bigger, and, just incredible, really, in a devastating and sad way to watch how fast that fire just all of a sudden appeared.
This is all that is left of Trent Owen's home, where he, his wife, and their 2 children lived.
It's really hard for my 8-year-old daughter. Everything that she knows and her whole upbringing and her home, her bedroom, all her stuff is gone.
Southwest of Salt Lake City, the Iron Fire burning over 40,000 acres, but with 27% containment, officials lifting some evacuation orders. Residents of Eureka making an emotional return home.
Happy that everyone's homes. They're still here.
On top of already battling these large, uncontrolled wildfires, Utah is dealing with extremely dry vegetation, gusty winds, and humidity levels down to 5%, making this very dangerous for any new fire activity.
Also, I wanted to share this with you. This is the Schumann resonance over the course of 3 days. 3 massive spikes, but this is the key. So to me, that tells you something intelligent controlling what's going on from the sun. Because remember, Commander Thor told us there are light beings that are controlling that solar flash, and it does what it needs to do. So maybe that's just a message to everyone that things are under control. I don't know. Just something to think about. Regarding the Socialist Party, or basically Communist Party, I think socialism, in my opinion, is just a pretty word for what they really are. They're communists. Socialism is the bait for godless, selfish, lazy people who don't want to work but have everything handed to them. Just a side note, it always leads to the collapse of civilization, because having the few work to support the rest leads to less and less people working because it's unfair. And so eventually the people supporting the masses say, forget this. Globalists know this, and that's why they are brainwashing people through the Democratic Party, acting like socialism is some great, it's just, fighting for the little people, taking from the rich are taking all the money, and let's give it back to people who aren't working. And it's like buying votes, basically, making promises that can never be kept. Once society collapses and chaos takes over, the real communist power is there, and short of war or a revolution, I mean, look at the Soviet Union, can't be undone. The same people that are trying to take over this country with communism are the same people who were behind the Bolshevik Revolution and the start of the Soviet Union, just so you know. It's just basic common sense. If you're a Christian, you understand that God has, gives us free will and freedom, natural freedom given to us by God to choose our own destiny. Communism is in direct opposition to Christian values. We are a Christian nation, a constitutional republic based on Christian values. So that's why Christians are always targeted.
Look at this. They have a stated goal of, quote, building a coalition of religious people with socialist values to defeat Christian nationalism. What is a so-called Christian nationalist, and why are they so focused on Christians? Second, destroy our electoral system. Non-citizen voting, the Electoral College gone. That's the plan. And third, destroy our government, the oldest and most stable constitutional republic in history. Listen to this. Judicial review weakened. The Senate diminished. This would mean checks and balances, the cornerstone of our system, just wiped away. Article 1 of our Constitution, which gave the Senate power, ripped up. Article 3, establishing the power of the Supreme Court, thrown out. That is the platform. It's radical, but how will it work? Many countries have tried to implement socialism, but they have failed. In Cuba, their economy is destroyed, domestic production of goods has plummeted, inflation is soaring, and the value of their peso in shambles. It's a similar story in Venezuela: hyperinflation, poverty, severe shortages, and their healthcare system on the brink of collapse. And after China installed socialism under Mao Zedong, the country saw mass starvation, famine, and the people saw a total loss of their personal freedoms, which they never.
The globalist deep state have been infiltrating this country for decades with this New World Order plan. The world government is slated to be communist. Power centralized at the top. What's left of the population under mind control and placed in these 20-minute cities, disconnected from God and controlled and enslaved using transhumanism technology. Remember, the so-called elites are Canaanites, hybrids. Some of them may be full-on shapeshifters, but they're not like the rest of us. No conscience or connection to the one true God through Jesus Christ. They're Luciferians. After indoctrinating in schools for decades, controlling the mainstream media and entertainment, the corporate food companies putting chemicals in our food, fluoride in our tap water, dumbing us down, all of that was a softening of the population to get ready for what they are trying to do now. They know if they can take over the U.S. and destroy our Constitution, then the rest of the world will fall into place. Also, don't forget, we all have been MK Ultra to some degree. Democrats are just really MK Ultra, in my opinion. They actually get triggered violently. I think that's something that is a characteristic of being MK Ultra, to be triggered, like, from certain words and stuff. Like, for example, TDS. We know what that is. I know very well what that is. We all know people who have TDS. They get extremely angry and violent if you just say President Trump. So, anyway, that's what we're up against. That's what we've been up against. And people have been awake there's a lot of people who have been awake for a long time. And they are in the minority, and it was hard for them to speak up because they were being shut down and called a conspiracy theorist. And, doing that, another CIA mind control operation, using words to brainwash people and to control the population. Like using the words conspiracy theorists and making people think that term is synonymous with crazy, for example. And nobody wants to be called crazy, right? So it does shut people up. So this is all MK Ultra stuff. We all have been under this brainwashing operation from the CIA, through media and the news, everything. So it's going to be hard for people. Some people are so over the top. I don't know how that's going to look. They say once people learn the truth, the hard truth of what's been going on, people are going to need to see therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists and doctors. You know, it's not going to be pretty. Remember, all of these events happening out in front of the White House have meaning. A cage fight on the White House lawn, it looked like spectacle. It was actually the final legal trigger in a 250-year war, the moment America gave its consent to break free from British Admiralty law. This special broadcast brings together retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox, Captain Ron Cunningham, Will Barney, and Christy Allen to break down what really happened on June 14, 2026. The UFC Freedom 250 event wasn't entertainment. It was the public ritual required under maritime law, the people's visible endorsement of the transition from corporate servitude to constitutional sovereignty. The timeline is precise. Flag Day 2025, America began recapturing its flag. April 2026, the King and Queen stood on the South Lawn as legal witnesses. May 17th, the National Jubilee of Prayer withdrew consent from the 1871 corporation. May 25th, Kevin Warsh was sworn in without the gold-fringed Admiralty flag. June 14th, the Octagon sat on sovereign soil, and the crowd's cheers served as legal acquiescence. The panel exposes the deeper reality. Lawyers and judges have sworn allegiance to a foreign entity. The bar is the British Aggregation Registry. Esquire is a British royal term. The 13th Amendment forbids it. When the new order takes effect, they will have to be retrained or removed. Tom Lennox reveals the Khazarian control of the Senate, the two passport senators who believe they can flee to Israel, and why the portals are critical to their escape. Will Barney connects the dots. President Trump signed a quantum technology executive order the morning of this broadcast. The UFO files are psychological preparation for advanced technology. Space Force provides the acceptable face for craft that have been reverse engineered for decades. Captain Rob Cunningham reminds us the gatekeepers no longer control the narrative, and Christy Allen adds a final piece. Tulsi Gabbard's hand grenades. Obama's encrypted orders and the revelation that the plan was always you. The storm is coming, the exit ramps are closed, but on the other side of the chaos waits a golden age under God's jurisdiction with sound money, sound law, and a free people. Where we go one, we go all. So all of those events that we've been witnessing, they've all had meaning, and maybe we didn't know what they meant, but the cabal sure knew what they meant. So with that in mind, having the Great American State Fair with all 50 states represented on sovereign soil, maybe that's taking back our country, not just DC, but taking back in the White House, but also taking back all 50 states and putting them under sovereignty, under not Admiralty law, but common law, under the restored republic, constitutional republic. Europe is starting to ban AC for two reasons. Number one, to kill old people with heat stroke who use up all the tax dollars in socialized medicine. And number two, to make everyone feel hot and miserable so the global warming scam feels more real and they can pass more tax increases. These globalist elites are truly evil. There's always an agenda behind everything. And you just have to figure out what it is. Socialized medicine. If you live under socialized medicine, then yeah. So keep that in mind. I mean, they're already doing these euthanasia. There was a 12-year-old euthanized. I think it was it in the UK or was it in Canada? One of those countries. That's the kind of stuff, because it's not in line with the Bible. It's not in line with God. So they're ungodly. Here's Colonel Bosey on the global reset and how they are in control of the supply chain to prevent total chaos.
So what the White Hats cleverly did without telling anybody is they made sure that shock to the supply chain didn't occur. We didn't have to wait a month for the oil to get pumped across, sail through the Straits of Hormuz and get to Oz, or get to the refining facilities in Asia and then to us, which is what happens in Australia. They had the oil ready to go. And so they cleverly, without anybody's knowledge, shortened the duration of the shock to the supply chain by having this stockpile loaded and waiting offshore in Australia. The same thing is going to happen now with the financial shock, because you think it's going to take, 10 days to reset the financial system for the globe? Are you kidding me? It takes more than 10 days to open a new bank account at my local community bank. And yet they know they have to have that supply chain shock, whether it's oil or money, makes no difference, as short as possible.
It's now, we're coming into the 4th of July, 250th celebration. Trump's going to have a rally. I've been listening to YouTube, a lot of this different videos on what's coming. I mean, even astrologically, like planets aligning. I'm all over this stuff, right? I'm like watching everything, and I see that we are definitely coming into a time of change, right? We can all feel it. Time and space seems to be going through a bottleneck right now. Things are just speeding up. We got alien disclosure. We got midterms coming up. We got all this stuff just boiling over. What do you expect to see? Do you expect – I expect the SAVE Act not to pass, okay? I'm just going to tell you that right now. I don't think it's going to pass, and I think Trump's going to go with a national security emergency and executive orders. What are you expecting? If you're reading the tea leaves right now, what are you expecting to see as we go into August, September, October, or July, into November?
I hate it when, because
it's fun. It's fun.
I'm a fan of your show, and I hate it when people make predictions and stuff like that. I mean, I don't like it, predictions,
well, we won't hold your feet to the fire. I just like to do it on my show.
What's that?
We won't hold your feet to the fire. It's all a guessing game.
No,
man.
but what? Somebody who's prophetic like Kim Clement, I like that. He's a prophet. He's been pretty accurate. I love that. So I'm not against, but I'm going to make a prediction, but it's a very well-informed one. There will not be midterm elections. And this is why I think so.
Okay.
Because remember what I said about the law. The law, December of 2025, a law was put in place that said that the states must perform certain functions about their electronics. That's what we'll say, right? Electronics.
Oh, and they're not doing that.
They had 180 days by law to do something with their electronics. And guess when that expired? It was June 16th. I told you I was expecting something to happen prior to June 16th.
Right. You said during the summit that you expect. So that was it, basically.
The states did not perform. I know this for a fact because of the team that was involved in talking to the various states. They didn't do it. So they were in violation of law. Let me tell you the clincher. You ready? If they don't follow the law, they don't have money to do the elections.
Wow.
Zero money. Right now, President Trump can say, you didn't perform that. You're in violation of the law. You don't get the money to actually do the elections come the midterms. They cannot do it. So that causes a national emergency crisis right then and there because they cannot issue them. They're called HAVA funds.
So compound that with the SAVE Act probably not passing. We're into an emergency.
There is no doubt about it. We're in a full-blown emergency. And then factor in this right here. I'm going to say this. Pizzulo's book documents the forensic evidence. Okay. This is a published book. And I'm not even going to read the title. All right. But the reason why they published this is guess why? Because they wanted to make sure that it got out. They published it, made it public. Tulsi has a report. She's supposed to make that public. There's no way they can get away with not publishing the results of this criminal investigation. So you factor that in. That they knew about the potential for criminality. They didn't perform their acts, and they want to have money through the habit.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't. They can't have all that.
So
but guess what they want to do? They want to send illegal aliens in with fake IDs and right.
So let's
disparaging against illegal aliens, of course.
Right. So let's talk about this for a second. So
yep.
all of this is kind of boiling over into midterms, and Trump says they're about to make their move. What does he mean by that? They're about to make their move. The communists are about to make their move. He said that.
Who's about to make their move?
He said the communists are about to make their move. I've been waiting my whole life for this. I think, Alex, if you want to show it again,
they are, and I read that. Yeah, they are about to make their move. There's no doubt about it. And did you ever discover that the Department of Homeland Security found shipping containers, like one I'm just going to use an example. This is documented. You can go look it up on the internet. It was 5 years ago. One container in Florida, one container in Long Beach, one container in Galveston, and there were AK-47 parts. And if you put all those parts together, capable of assembling tens of thousands of AK-47s.
Wow.
They found. Did you know about that?
No, I didn't know about that. So we're assuming that will be used for illegals probably to simultaneously do mass shootings or take down cities. I don't know.
They can arm up their little minions, get all of their little kids like they do the cartels, right? Because they know how to do this. Notice how the cartels in a country that does not have favorable gun laws, all the kids that are, hopped up on fentanyl, running around with AK-47.
Right here in Juarez, man. That's how they do it. They take.
Buyer beware. Bad actors exploit de minimis shipments. There's reports out there where they found gun parts shipped in from China. China's been flooding the country. Now, that was 5 years ago what they caught. Can you imagine what they didn't catch?
That's scary. And then I also talk about in Mobile, Alabama. Did you hear about the IED that was found in a dam, in a water dam? Did you hear about
that? A month ago, I think, right?
Yeah, it was totally live, dude. They had to detonate it. So that tells me, you better check all the dams because they're getting ready. Put that together with the gun parts you just talked about, and then the IED in a dam. They're probably in more dams. Imagine Hoover Dam. Imagine all these dams take down our infrastructure, man.
Do you know? Do you remember Benghazi? It was a long time ago, but you know what Benghazi was all about, right? Negotiating the shoulder-fired man pads from Al Qaeda in Libya to ship to Syria. Well, 400 tons of man pads ended up leaving the port in Libya. I have a copy of the manifest. And guess what? One of those man pads was found over the border by Dr. P. Chambers. They were coming over the border. Where did 400 tons of man pads go? Those are capable of shooting planes out of the sky.
That could be right here. That's
where
scary.
Did 400 tons of man pads go?
Do you think they're getting ready to pull the trigger at such a time as maybe midterms where they're going to go all in? And
they have been getting ready. I think we all know that they've been getting ready. Let's take a look at the flooding of the United States of America with 12 to 20 million illegal aliens. A large portion of them are not very good people, terrorists and jihadists, right?
Yeah, right. 100%.
They've been getting ready in that regard.
Pete, I'm going to tell you this right now. Just driving by the wall here in El Paso, Texas, we watched them jump the fence, like literally while we're driving on the freeway, jump the fence like Circus du Soleil and jump down on their feet, land on their feet, have tats all over their face, and look at us stone cold like killers while we're driving by, and then play leapfrog through the highway and get into the estates. Insanity. And some of the best athletic, I'm like, these dudes need to be in the Olympics, man.
Now imagine what the response is going to be. And now we've got the human trafficking flow being shut down. And then we got USAID being shut down because of their money flow from George Soros. And we've got this right here that's going to shut down their ability to overthrow countries around the world. So what happens when you back a cat up into a corner? What's it going to do?
They're more dangerous.
Oh, dude, it's going to come out scratching right now. Right now, we're in a very dangerous state. They can launch a major false flag. You know what? I think Iran was, because Iran was a proxy for Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, Barack Obama, right? And they've been coaching Iran behind the scenes. I think Iran was used to throw Trump back on his heels because of what, the DOJ is supposed to be doing. I mean, the DOJ is going to be involved in restoring our Constitution. The military is going to have to be involved. you arrest that many people and you shock the system, that puts us on the verge of a civil war that they're going to have to contain. Well, guess what? They delayed that, and they sent it's pure speculation.
Pure speculation. Okay.
Get President Trump tied up in a quagmire in Iran. What did he do? He juked him, dude. He said, "Oh, there's no war. We got an agreement. Here's an MOU." I love it that he did that.
Right.
I wanted him to bomb Iran. And I was disappointed when I heard it. And I said, you know what? This might be a good thing because now he can focus on what he talked about yesterday. This moment in time where he can take out the communists in a big way. Huge.
And he's saying they're about to make their move. So what's their move?
Their move could be just about anything. And you know that they have good listening capabilities. They've been listening. They've been watching. I mean, they'll leak memos. And you know how they leak memos. I'll give you a memo and I'll put like a watermark on it that says I gave this to Nino. And then when it hits the press, there's only one person we gave that memo to in that fashion, and it was given to Nino. They test for leaks. They watch to see who's loyal. At the ODNI, they just fired a bunch of people, I'm sure, for because of the investigation that they're doing against those people.
So let me pivot just for a quick second here. I want to talk about the Golden Dome and the significance of this. Now, you sent some screenshots to Alex to put up about the Golden Dome, which a lot of people are very confused on this. What is a Golden Dome? What does it even mean? What is it going to do? Hypersonic missiles. It's going to protect us from hypersonic missiles, drone attacks. Why? What are we getting ready for, Pete?
Okay, here's the deal. The UAP technology, I know this for a fact. I just got back from Rome. Did you know that? Did I tell you that?
No, you didn't. But now I know.
I went to Rome. I met with the team that is doing Manhattan Project 2.0.
Okay.
The aerospace companies own this UAP technology. That's a fact. They own it. It's not aliens. We may have gotten it from, previous. You see in the Egyptian, pyramids, they say, oh, aliens land. Well, we may have gotten that and they reverse engineered it, but we made it better. The aerospace companies have that technology.
Like Lockheed Martin, companies like that.
Yes. How do I know? Because Dr. Jack Sarfati is on our team. He was the one that was tasked by the CIA to develop that technology.
Wow.
Yes. So what they're doing now is they're setting up a counter UAP program. And this is real, and it's happening right now, and the American public doesn't know this. They figured out a way to take those UAPs that Lockheed Martin has that are being weaponized by even other countries against us, and they figured out a way to just pluck them right out of the sky. Just literally
just drop them.
Capture a UFO or UAP in midair and just bring it to the ground.
Get out of here.
Listen to me.
And this is the technology the Golden Dome will be using?
The Golden Dome, can take the hypersonic missiles that they said we can't defend against?
Right.
They tested it within the past 48 hours. Look at this. U.S. carries out, this is President Trump, the first test of the Golden Dome defense system. That will take even a UFO out of the sky. I've
heard that UFOs were also getting dropped back in the day because of our which is so hard to believe. They travel through hypersonic speeds in space, wormholes, whatever, and they come to Earth and crash. I'm like, okay, what are they not figuring out here? But they said that our radar system was dropping them too. Our radar
and how they travel, that's some pretty fanciful stuff. But imagine the American public has no idea that it's not owned by aliens. It's not. The only aliens we have a problem with are the ones that snuck into the country, and we need to worry about not the aliens. We need to worry about the human beings that have weaponized this technology against humanity. So the effort right now, and President Trump is leading this, is to develop counter UAP technology. And guess what? He went around the world and he.
So just a quick side note. As you know, we have talked about how the UFOs have been shot out of the sky. Commander Thor put out this information a long time ago that, and if you follow the whole UFO stuff, which I never did before, but according to what's out there, they've been shooting UFOs down since the 50s and then reverse engineering the technology. They've been doing that a long time. And it could be they're just coming out to show people what they can do, because that's what I've noticed is that the technologies that they've had for years and years and years, that's how they bring it out to the public, is they say, oh, look, we just created this. And also there are bad ETs. We know that. There are brown grays in Dulce, and other places. There also are the reptilians. We know that those are underground, and that was in the UFO files. So there are, and they have ships, and they are one of the biggest ones that they're trying to terraform the planet, and they have proxies. You know, the reptilians are like, they use proxies, like proxy countries and proxy, but they have proxy leaders, and those are your shapeshifters and some of the people that wear masks and stuff. But I think that that's how they've captured a lot of the world, is through proxies. And because they can't live up on the surface, and that's their biggest thing, is they like to stay in the shadows. They don't want people to know they even exist, but they do. So anyway, that's just some things I wanted to add to the conversation.
Hold them all. You know, John G. Trump is his uncle, right?
Yeah, Tesla technology.
He has Tesla technology. He has the weaponry. How do I know? Because I was in the room with the people that have developed it.
You're kidding me.
It happened a couple weeks ago in Rome. But nobody knows this because the media is suppressing it. President Trump talks about the Golden Dome. And then I presented that at the summit. What happened within a week after the summit? They tested the Golden Dome effectively. They can take a UAP and take it right out of the sky. They can take a hypersonic missile.
So what are we getting ready for, man? What is this? This is kind of
here's what President Trump's doing. This is what he's getting ready for. What if he goes to Vladimir Putin and says, your entire arsenal has been rendered useless. You have no power. We now have hegemony over you. You can't attack the Western Hemisphere. And he goes to Saudi Arabia. He goes to Qatar. He goes to Iran. And he says, you cannot overpower us.
I would bet you anything, Peter. It already works. It's already been established. It's already up. I would bet you anything.
The Golden Dome?
Yeah, I bet you. Because why would
on the screen? Look at what was the date of the testing of the Golden Dome? Testing of the Golden Dome. That was just published on Newsweek on June 24th.
Wow.
Just the other day, they announced that they tested it. President Trump has the most amazing technology. Now, is he going to use it to threaten other countries? He's going to basically tell everybody, you guys can't do anything to us. We now have the power. We have the greatest military, the greatest technology. You sit down and shut up. Let's make some money
This
together.
is exactly how you go to war with the globalists, man, because we know. So what's your thought? Okay, so hold on, Pete. Let me ask you this then. I'm under the impression that, I've heard, Earth changes, this and that. Gamma rays are hitting planet Earth. It's cosmic radiation. It's the sun. Earthquakes, man, that we've had in Venezuela, 2 of them. By the way, 2 in Venezuela, 1 in Japan. And now Venezuela is saying they're going to start building smart cities. Did you hear this? So, gee, how convenient. How convenient they have 2 massive earthquakes. That's going to give them leeway and reason to build smart cities.
Right.
What's your thoughts on these earthquakes? Do you think
this is just my opinion? It may be completely and totally against everything that you believe in. Is there a planetary missile? Gravity and stuff like that. Sure, it's going to impact the Earth. This is what I believe, though, because whistleblowers have come forth and said that there's technology out of the North Pole that has the ability. They got these deep neutrino things and they're earthquake generators. There might be somebody blasting a couple earthquakes. They have the technology available. It's already been made public. You know about those whistleblowers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
From the North Pole, right? That they said we've got the ability to blast any country.
So you're like me. I don't think they're natural.
Oh, I'm 90% that they're weapons.
Okay.
90%. Russia's already threatened us in previous years. There's old archives where a general said, we can take you out in a heartbeat with an earthquake weapon. I remember that from like 2012, 2013. They do have that weapons capability. Hitting Venezuela like that, is it President Trump? I don't know. Is it the deep state, the globalists from the deep state saying, you think you're going to get Venezuela? Check this out.
Yeah.
What if
that's
they hit?
That's where my mind goes with this. Exactly that right there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a response like, oh, that's how you think this is going to be easy for you? No. We're hitting the two earthquakes in Venezuela. Come on.
We had a conversation about what's going on with suppression of, important documentary films like on migration into Europe. Europe wanted to cut that off. There's also information out of, Brazil. They don't want anyone to know about that. What are they doing? They're countering it. It's very difficult for them to keep the cork in their bottle, and they're desperate. So what do? They got to threaten everybody's lives and hit countries with earthquake weapons.
How is this even so under the, we all know we're at war, basically, essentially. We are in war. We're in a national emergency. Is this going to come back to bite these people in the ass? Like Candace going to Russia, sitting in. This is not going to work out well for them, man. Even taking the money from these people, I don't think they understand what's coming.
Israel topic is very controversial, but we could argue all we want about Israel, but right now is Israel an enemy that says that they want to kill us?
No. But we understand the intelligence agencies, but we can't. But look, who can you not talk about on Fluff Tube? Them. So let's just leave them out of the. So that's who you.
Right, but I'm just saying
that's who you should point the finger at.
They're not the right attack vector right now. All right, so we get a bunch of people off in the corner, doing that. Well, what is that at a time of war? This is my point, not to attack or support anybody. If during a time of war, you attack our allies or do something to subvert us, you're providing material support indirectly when you're broadcasting propaganda. You broadcast propaganda, you're helping our adversaries. I already predicted we're not going to have midterms. Big things are going to come. I know this because our last visit about the two grand juries in Florida, the grand conspiracy. Trump is tipping us off. He's settling the Iran stuff. He's going to get the town going after the communists. I really want to overemphasize this. For those of you that are questioning, based on what you see at the gas pump or what, whatever it is that they tell you on how to judge President Trump, listen to him closely. And he brags about it because the mainstream media won't. We have the best freaking economy, 52,000 in the stock market. We got the best military with the best technology anywhere on planet Earth. We got the best technology in cybersecurity to ward off. And he's launched initiatives right now to make sure that we lock down our cybersecurity. He just signed an executive order, and I'm very familiar with post-quantum encryption, that not only in his executive order, the Department of War is locking down our internet because right now it's unsecure. Guess who's running the internet unsecure? The globalists, John Brennan, all those that have been running, USAID.
Right now, you're saying right now it's going to be under Trump control.
It's going to be locked down. Right now, they rely upon a wide open internet that they can hack into. With post-quantum encryption, it locks it down. You won't be able to hack and steal money from us anymore.
Wow.
Okay. So listen, we get the best jobs record. We got peace in the Middle East. We do. He's moving towards peace in the Middle East. 401ks are going up. Our gas is going to come down to $2.50, right? 73 record stock market. I wrote this down when he was listing them the other night. All right. The highest employment ever. No tax on tips. That's a beautiful thing. I mean, we fought remember the Tea Party, the true Tea Party, the revolt. It was tax on tea. He's removed those taxes. 0 illegal aliens, right? Drug trafficking is down 97%. You start.
That's huge. That's huge. That's huge.
We cut off all their money supply. USAID. We cut off all the money flow through USAID that the CIA was laundering to these very bad entities. Of course, that makes them very desperate, but these are great successes on our behalf. I wanted to make sure that I got that point out, because I'm going to make my own decision as to whether I think President Trump is doing the right thing for the American people. I'm not a sycophant. I think he's doing all of the right things on all of our behalf. And guess what else? He's also poking the bear, isn't he?
He sure is.
He sure is. Follow me at Peter Santilli on X, because I've got great sources, I've got great info, and as it comes, and we have facts, I'll be putting it out. I say almost exclusively. I mean, how many people are talking like this?
You're one of my favorites. I agree. But Lori has an important. She made an important statement today. Lori, are you there?
I'm here.
Can you tell Juan exactly what you told me about Obama's rogue judge or appointed judge that just got ahead of the ball of Trump signing an executive order? Now, I don't believe a federal judge can do anything that the president enacts with an executive order, but he's getting ahead of the ball, Juan. Have you heard about this judge? Go ahead, Lori.
An Obama-appointed federal judge just issued an order banning Trump from implementing an election security executive order, which included a proof of citizenship requirement to register to vote.
Yep.
I see the Supreme Court stepping in on that one.
Well, again, this fight has been going on the whole time. Remember all the judges that said that Trump could be taken off the ballot in Colorado. The entire judicial system in Colorado said, yeah, we can take him off. Then we got to the federal courts, and they said, yeah, but we got to fast track to the Supreme Court, and then it was a unanimous 9-0 decision, which almost never happens. The Supreme Court said unanimously, no, you cannot take Trump off the ballot. All the other judges did what they did. A lot of times these judges, if they understand the politics of the region, they'll make a decision knowing it's going to get appealed. And so they're not actually going to stop stuff. They're buying time is all they're doing. And they know that. This judge knows